momo I te ana na kua o te ahi. Mahi maa kokono hoa I te ana nei na mau kokono noa o kokua ana na kua atau ki ana na kua e anana. Aku mai mua ki ana na kua e te ana nei te he muna no kua ana na kua au te aki kane kalo kawai le ula. Olohi a oi. Nga nai ke nana ko kono no kua au ki ana mo kua au puni o kono no kua au te au kau ina haa wana na. Hana I te ana nei hanau. O nā wai ki ana nei te e kua mamau. I te he mua iai no kua au ki ana nau te au. I kalani o ki au o ka mau e aku e ki au o karei. E kukui ahi. Nā kono no kua au e nā moku o ki aku no kua au te au. E aku mei. Aku no e te aku no kua au te aku a ako kua e nana I lau. E nau. E lau a mamoa nana I au. E nā o ki ala ki kua nau ki a e mai. E mai nei. Ka kuruna e tamano. Mono kue heu. Aku na ue te ana na kue au. Aku e te he mua ina nei te au. Ai te na nei te poha kuna no kuau te vai kai kuna no ai te vai kane no kuau ke au ai hore. Pona wai ke ona no kuau te ana no e amamo te nau te eha I te au. Aku mai o kukua mama uala la kuai te au. Aku no ala no amamo ai ke au te au ko Hawaii pai aina. Na kua ia no a kua. Mo kua na wa ke ana na ku. Ka ili moku. E nai te po e Hawaii. Ka ana no e te ana na kua e te he muna na nai ke ana na I te au. He muna I te au kumama kua na kua waia.
You rebuke the seals of
foreign.
Blatant, illegal occupation of our country, our lands, our aina. Rebuke all falsehood of ancient gods. Open up all the seals that have been placed here by ancient gods, by foreign gods, by foreign occupation.
No, I can't I tell. O mai te puhaku no kuau teu. Ai makalani ai teu kuno no au. O oi. E holo he oi.
Rebuke all things.
Holo he oi and na ia no
a kuno no au. The living heirs. Rise up the heirs of the four corners of all this property. The rightful heirs of Ka'anohe.
Ka'anohe ai ke
Kane. And all the living heirs standing here, you rise up their bloodline.
Ona no ai aku ka ili moku. Ia mamai te aku ka ili moku. Hewa no I ke ana na I te awala. Ona nai o haia wa kana na wala la ke ana na wa alu nui a haia mai. Koko kuna no wa. Ia ia ka iluna moku ai ka puku kona no I te au ka no I ta kaipo. Kai ke na ki ala. Holo he oi. E mai ka poe. E mai ka poe. Ana nai te aki poe. Hai te akunu no I te au. Yola meu! Ai!
In this time of the spiritual restoration of the living heirs, God brings up all the living heirs, all the living people today of the royal pattern that belongs here. The royal pattern of Kane, the royal pattern of Ka'anohe. The living heirs are here. They are here. They're not gone. The bones are not dead. We're not relocating nobody. We are repossessing what rightfully belongs to our people. That every ancient prophet, Pana Eva, Kuka Ilimoku, Ahiau, Makanau, Kane, Ku, Kalaeloa, you rebuke all foreign entities and anyone who think they are going to build an illegal entity of exploitation of these lands. The gods will rise and come to your houses. Honokea. Aole pono, pilau heva oi. Honokea. the blood is returned to you and your family. To you corporate whores who choose to fornicate and completely hana ino our people.
Hewa no!
Ever. Today, the gods will purge this land, raise up all the ancient councils, because the living heirs have made claim. You have made claim in the courts to take on these fornicators of deception. You have made claims, and the gods will walk with you when you go into the court. I have dedicated all your papers already to the ancient councils to rebuke all who want to think they are going to exploit our country and the sacred lands, to hana ino stealing of water from our sacred pahipanas. They will not do this thing, because the gods hold all accountable to being fraudsters, fakers, and fornicators of the lands of the rightful heirs. So with this, we now rededicate
Ahua pau, o mau kaukai
our
pau.
dedication.
Ka manono kua uki ana nei tamano. Mano ai ki ana ta ahua pau. Mako no ai te moko umiumi. Ka ki ana na hia i te akuna a pau. O mama ai te ana no ki ali wa kulele a pau. Mo kono no ai tauka a pau. Maka no ai te ana na i te mo ai ki ana na ka uno hia a pau. Mako kono no i te a koko. Koko i kana na ko kana na ia mama u ki ana a pau. E ko o kalani. Ai te ama a pau. E nanai ke a mama mui ke nanai te a mama loa na yo kono no a pau. E nanai ke au kono no ke a kukui a pau. A nanai te ana na a pau. Ola me wai ke nanai ai ke. I ke nanai a mama ai ke a pau. O nanai ka mama ya wa nanai ya o kana na a pau. Ya hia nai ka wa na ya no ai ka kukani o kolo mo ai te au kono no a pau. A nanai ke ki. A no i te o moe ke hi. O no i te a kua na a pau. E a ku kai li moku. O mama i kono no a mama au. O nana i ke a mama lima. Na kua i te ana na kue ehu. O kuna no o kana ka maule. Ka kuna i te po e Hawaii. Ka ko no e a malama no kua na i ke ana no i te au kuno o kana vai. E kana vai. Ko ona na i te po mama i ka vai vai. A kua i nei te ana no o ke ahi. Ki ahi na wai ke ana no akini. Ki ana no kua e le na wai te ana no wau. E ola me ua a ka kuna no e ka aku a pau. E mai e ke ana na pue. O kuna na.
That will not be accountable to the Hewa Pilau. For the dispossession of our people should never happen and will not happen. The real heirs stand up to rebuke all. Hold all accountable. For this day. All the heirs, the house of heirs, we all stand unified here. This is what you call unification. It is an act of war. We stand together to rebuke the adversary. That is our job as living heirs. And may the ancients walk with you when you go into the courts, because we will be pounded pahus from our end. Okay, the babies can start now. What time is good?
Okay, one.
E o mai ha. E o mai kai ke mai una mai e. O na mea una noeo. O na me.
hina a kua ia ka hina alo. Ia ka a kau kalani. O ki ha i kalani. O e i kalani. Nunu i kalani. Ka holo i kalani. E ia nā pula pula a o ko popoe.
Hono uli uli. Hono uli uli. Ole loho. Hono uli uli.
Hono uli uli.
Hono
E malama o ko.
Malama o ko.
Ko ia ma ko. E ulu i kalani. E ulu i ka honua. E ulu i ka pai aina o Hawaii. E o mai taite. E o mai taita. E o mai te atamai. E o mai ta ma o popopono. E o mai ta i te papalua. E o mai ta mana. Uhola ia ka makaloa la. Ua i ke aloha la. Uka i ia ka haloa la. Whawehi mai nā lehua. Mai ka ho'oku ia ka halawai la. Mahalo e nā kua. Mahalo e nā kukuna la ea. Mahalo me ke aloha la. Mahalo me ke aloha la.
Kua mahua i te huana no i te ana hua kana i te huana no ai a hono no uli uli ai te momokua i te hua kua momokua nau. Hua i te huai. Oi, hua i makuna no ai te hua i te apo homo e ke anana hi ai ta po o au. Hua mau, hua i te au, hua i te au akino, hua i te au e koko ahi hono no kua u te au e he kumo i te ku e. Hua i mai taini hoplau ai te anana kua u te kua makona no kua u ai au ai ti. Umo, hua mo ke anana kua ai. E o mamau ai te anana i au pona kona ue. O mamau ai te ai. O mau ai te hua makona no ai. O nana i te aku. O ku makona no ai te amoku anana i te anana o ku. E a mama o ku. Ua hi anana ua ua i te aku noa. O mamo i te anana ua aki. O ku makau ai te kumo e la kua mo ku anana i ta la pono pono au ai te au ai. O pono pono au la au ai te au. O mana, kana kona ue, e mai mai nei, o kana nua i te au nei.
Aloha mai e nā kupuna. Aloha mai, aloha mai, aloha mai. O wau ka mo'opuna no ke ia pai aina. Eia no ka ohana no ke ia pai aina. E nina o au ia o ko ina hiki au koka. No kako, no e kokua ia kako, no ke ia hana nui, no ke ia ala, no ke ia hana a pauloa, no ke ia pai aina.
Eu!
No ke ia la, no ke ia manawa. Mahalo ia oko, whakahi a pauloa. Mahalo ia oko, mahalo ia oko, mahalo ia oko. E nā a kua, e nā kaula, o ka hui e a.
Eu!
Nā pōkela, ki i ia li i ua a kua lele, ahi au. Mahalo ia. Mahalo.
You are the royal captain of this land, your family. Stand strong. The ancients are here to guide us.
stop fighting.
Never happened.
Never happen. Even in death, we don't stop. Let's move. Let's do this. Shaka boom boom, there's action.
Yo.
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 Let's do this.
The
Mahalo.
angels will walk with each and every one of you. We are privileged to be asked to come and to kokua what we can. Because your fight is our fight. Your fight is our fight. We rise up the gods, we rise up the ancient and the sacred councils that we can find the peace that gotta be in our country. This is all about us, all of us, right here, all of us. If the heirs are not protected, then nobody is going to be spared.
Yo.
Yo.
We cannot have people thinking that they are going to do what they are going to do. That is not going to happen. So the gods are going to walk with you guys in the pots. They are going to address the pots. They're going to address all of the Honokea Village Corporation. That is our work that we do. And we are glad that everybody is here doing what you do. The land has been sanctified and reclaimed. Repossess it.
Yo.
No matter who's on top, it's who owns it. We as living heirs own it now. Mahalo Pia for all you guys work, your children and everything. Mahalo for what you guys do. Okay, Pao?
Aloha kako. I am here on behalf of my ancestors and the Kanaka Maoli community. I am here to express the creation development of the Honokea Surf Village is a frivolous use of our resources in the middle of a water crisis. The use of injection wells is a complete desecration of the ancient karst systems and burials below. The blatant disregard for our iwi kupuna is happening on every mokupuni every day. Our Maui survivors are still left with no true resolution. Our kupuna on every mokupuni is being unearthed for commercial fun. Kapukaki is still being defueled as we speak. It is now more than ever we must remember what it means to be Kanaka Maoli.
Yo!
Yo.
On behalf of Nakia'i Waiha, our court hearing will be on February 28th and we welcome you all. Please join by Zoom. We will have the link on our website, nakia'iowaiha.com. We are requesting summary judgment in a lawsuit that we are the plaintiff against the Honokea development. We are here today to raise awareness, to educate the community of the desecration upon the lands of Kekauonohi.
Oh!
As you see before you, the people here, we are Kanaka Maoli. We understand what that means. And I hope that as we move forward with these actions, many Kanaka Maoli will see this and understand what it means for them as well. We would love to see each of you standing with us via Zoom or in person.
Ku
Yo!
Kako.
Aloha mai kako, o o kaiula ninui. We are a coalition of Kanaka Maoli who have come together to protect the elemental resources throughout our pai aina. We are protectors of vai, aina, iwi, and all that is sacred to the Kanaka Maoli people.
Yo!
Yo.
There was a complaint filed in the First Circuit Environmental Court challenging the state of Hawaii's Community Development Authority, which is also known as HCDA. HCDA had received approval in 95 million of funding of bonds in order to facilitate this development.
Hewa!
Hewa nui.
There will be water that will be injected into the karst systems here. Injection wells, as stated, is not an environmental friendly use of water or waste water. We come here today to raise the awareness for the world to recognize that water is life, Iwi is sacred, and our Aina is living. And for that reason, we stand here to protect all that is sacred that may be desecrated by this development. We ask for your kokua, your kako'o, your mana to protect all that is sacred for our people. Mahalo ya oko.
Aloha, I'm Helani Sonora Pale. I am with the Oahu Water Protectors and I'm also a member of Nakia Iowaiha. I stand here today in protection of this place, this sacred place. We are opposed, strongly opposed to the building of another wave pool on this island. There is a wave pool less than a mile away from here. There is a surf spot couple miles away from here, a famous surf spot here on the west side of the island. This wave pool that they want to build will be 5 acres large and will require 7 million gallons of fresh potable water. During a water crisis that was caused by the US Navy Red Hill spills. There are burials on this area, on this area that they want to build this wave pool. There are karst cave systems, and as Trina or Iolani had stated, they want to inject the used water from the wave pool into the karst cave system. Which is all connected with each other, and it's also connected to the ocean. Less than a mile away is One'ula, which is the bed, a very important limu bed here on the west side of the island that feeds the whole Leeward coast. So we stand here, we're here today to occupy this space, to bring attention to what's happening here. This issue is not over. It's just beginning for us, because we will not stand by and watch another wave pool be built on this Aina. So we will be here for a few days occupying space, and this is the first of many occupations we plan. Do what it takes to make sure that this wave pool is not built. Whatever it takes. It's really up to us as the Kanaka, as the native people of this land, to be the voice of our Iwi Kupuna here on this property, be the voice of the Vai, and be the voice of this land. So today our announcement is we are going to be here till Sunday. We will have educational workshops here. We plan to raise awareness. We plan to build support, build power for our movement to stop this development. Because we refuse to sit on the side and let more desecration take place.
Absolutely.
We are done. And we will continue to stand here as many times as we need to until this project is finally stopped. So we hope that the community will come out and join us. We'll be here till Sunday. We'll have workshops on the significance of this place, storytelling about the stories and the rich historical history of this place. Right here on this road is an ancient Hawaiian pathway. They built a road on top of it. So we are here to bring back what needs to be brought back, to protect what needs to be protected, to stand when we need to stand for what is important to us. This is our vai. This is our gold. As Kumu Mike Lee said, this is our gold. This is what we value. This is our riches, and we will not
desecration.
let any more desecration take place. We are done. So we will be here till Sunday in peaceful occupation, and we ask everyone, to come by, stop by, join us. Let's build. We have we are building an international, a global coalition with groups around the world. This is not just happening here in Oahu, in Hawaii. They're building wave pools all over the world. Britain has 8 abandoned wave pools. It's an issue that's not just happening to us, but it's happening all over the world. So we're building a global coalition with other protectors that are standing against the wave pools. And I did send that in our press release, the statement from, and that's building. We're getting more and more signatories every day. We do have a petition online at nakeaioaiha.com. Please sign our petition to stop this desecration and to protect our aquifer. Mahalo. Anything else? Okay, questions?
I'd rather do an interview on the side after.
Sure.
Yeah, no more production cleaning though. Done.
Any questions?
They wanted you guys to say your name because sometimes the other guys can't spell.
Okay, my name is Heleni Sonora Pale. HEALANISONODA -Pale.
Aloha, Kaiulani, like princess, KAIULANI, Kiko Pau. Wahine, Kaiulani, Ventura Wong.
Spelling. We got the spelling?
Are we good?
Okay, thank you.
Can you spell your last Hawaiian name? They didn't catch it.
What?
We're good.
Spell it.
Spell Kaiulani. We're good.
All set.
Lava.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and then if you guys are looking here, that's a map of the cultural sites. The burials. So this is a map of the projected project area. There is a burial mound here, H18. There may be more burial mounds. This was a known area for burials. So this is actually was part of the environmental assessment. So that's where we got this map from.
Can you say where we are?
Where are we now?
Oh, we're about here. So this is the ancient pathway. So, and the pathway, and this is a very old pathway that goes right through this, that went right through this road. So this is the road here. This
We are where?
about here.
Okay, we're right there.
Yeah.
Where are they going to develop?
This whole area.
Red, everything in the red.
This whole area will be developed.
Also, that,
No, it's this way.
okay, so we're kind
Yeah,
of
it's like a triangular
So that's
lot.
not north and south. That's more like this is. Oh, it is say definitely something. Huh?
Yeah, so you would have to turn it twice.
So we're more down over there then, right? If this.
We're
this
here.
way-
If I go on the other side, I can say exactly
Yeah.
where we are.
We're right about here.
So it's in reverse is all he's saying.
Oh wait,
Then
sorry.
The property goes
No, you know what?
backwards.
Yeah, sorry. This is the road right here.
Okay, that's
I'm looking at it upside down. Sorry. So this is the road. Yeah, this is where we are. So it's here, and then the burial mound is here. These are all the Karst systems.
All of this can be found on our website under the environmental assessment for more details. This was based on, of course, the developer. So we all have to do our due diligence. Just because it's presented doesn't mean it's all there. So there may be some inadvertent fines with EV. We won't know until people get in there, and that's why we're here, is because we don't want to get to that point where we come across EV kupuna.
Bro, help me out. I'm just going to show this map. Show that. So this is a map of the ancient trails. Can you see the barbers where we are? The barbers point. We're here. So we're right here.
So this is the whole area of development. This is the road, right, that we're on.
But this is an actual map. It's an overlay of it's overlay over now, but it's an old map from 1825. These are the ancient trails. Sorry. The ancient trails run right through here. This is the ancient trail right here. So this place has a lot of historical significance, and it is a place that needs to be protected. It's not just about the water, it's also about the historical significance of this place. This was a battleground and it's part of the Lena. So this is where the spirits wander. And our connection to Kapukaki, to Red Hill, there is a Pu'uolono. There's a Lena on Kapukaki, and that Lena, the spirits walk west. They walk right through here. So this is a pathway for the spirit world, for our kupuna to walk through. But this is an old map of the actual ancient trails that run through here.
And I just like to make known that right next door to us is actually a cultural heritage park. So the significance in this place can be attached to what's right next door. There's one of our oldest historic villages, possibly the first that originated from Tahiti, came here to this area. So if you're watching, Kalaeloa Heritage Park has a lot of burials. And it's hard to believe that a fence merely separates that village from this area. And we have to believe that our kupuna did not just congregate over 5 acres over there and they did not come here. And that's why we're here, is to protect what is sacred. And that affirms that this place is sacred. We don't want a Disneyland next to a cemetery for our kupuna. Mahalo.
So there's multiple issues here. We have that's on this proposed site. The terrible use of fresh water. While meanwhile, they're going to use 7 million gallons of fresh water to fill in a 5-acre wave pool. Meanwhile, 3 miles away, that way, there are families that are experiencing contamination in their water, still yet, are having rashes and having illnesses, and they're having to depend on bottled water. And then literally a mile away is another wave pool that charges a high amount of money for someone to actually utilize the wave pool, more than I could afford. And then like 0.6 miles away from here is a beach. And on this side of the island, we are near to where some of the best surf on the island is. So all of this doesn't make sense in terms of protecting our future, in terms of protecting what's important and sacred. It just only makes sense if you're about making money. So we're here to keep raising awareness. I feel like this is really about holding the space and educating people, educating the community. And we literally were here for 5 minutes and someone came to us, someone stopped and came over, an Eva resident, and started crying because this was heavy on their heart too. This development is something that a lot of Ewa residents are opposed to. And a lot of us Kanaka are opposed to. And so it's just Hewa on so many levels. So I think raising awareness, building power, getting people to sign on to the petition, getting people to show support and solidarity, stopping by and just showing solidarity would be super important. And that's why we're holding space, just to bring attention to this issue. We do have a court case coming up in February on the 28th. It's on Zoom. We've asked for a summary judgment from the judge on our complaint that was filed in the So I feel we have a really good case. I mean, it's like layer upon layer of reasons why we shouldn't build this wave pool. Thanks.
For myself, what brought me here in this space of working with Honokea Wave Pool as a kia'i, right? What brought me to be a kia'i? So what brought me here to being a kia'i is my love for the aina. For a very long time, as a child growing up, enjoying Hawaii for what it is has always meant so much to me. And I believe that's going to matter for our children and our grandchildren in the future. I believe that's what brought me here to become a kia'i and to join forces with Honokea Wave Pool. Pu'uloa specifically here in the Ewa Moku is important to me, and it holds a special place in my heart because there is times as a child that I spent out here, going to the beaches out here, eating honokea when I was hapai because it helps, medicinally for birth. So many things I can think of. The mo'olelos that I was told as a child. Our ohana living here, yes, that is my great grandmother, but she was younger. I wasn't even thought of then. But, in her young days, just enjoying the beauty and what Pu'uloa had to offer. And all I can imagine is that I would love to see the same happen for my children in the future. I mean, I would love to see it for myself, but it takes this right here. It takes people who care about Pu'uloa to stand up and say, this is enough. And I cannot get over the injection wells. I mean, there's so many things wrong. Like Keolani said, so many levels of Hewa that is going on here. The bai that is being desecrated, the burials. If you just do the research, your own due diligence to find out these karst systems that we are talking about, the burials that are located here in these areas. I mean, it amazes me that we can disregard someone who is not here because we have forgotten, right? I cannot say I have forgotten, but people have forgotten, and we have lost the true meaning of honor, aloha, upholding, I want to say respect and honor for the people who have come before us to allow us to exist today. If somebody did not love Pu'uloa before, there would be no Pu'uloa to be here today. If someone didn't love, stop and take care and do their thing then 100,000 years ago, whenever time you want to choose, there would never be all of this waste. And I want to add on to the 100,000 of years that has already gone by, and I want to make sure that before I go, we all try our best, as well as the rest of all of our Hawaii. That is all. Kiko pao.
Yes, of course. So this is gonna be like the third water part element in a wave pool here. The first being the water part,
the first one is the White High, and then the second third wave pool. And so what I wanted to say is that organization is going on, and so we have solidarity as well with those around the world. But the thing is, you have to take into account not only the wave pool that they're going to initially build. For example, one of the international wave pools, they said in 2 years they've had to refill the entire pool 5 times. So White High initial fill, not including condensation, refill on the daily. And again, according to the weather where you're at, so it's very sunny in there, more evaporation. But it's 5 million gallons to fill. This one is going to be 7 million gallons to initially fill. And on top of that, you have, they're planning a village. And so in addition to the wave pool, they're planning other features, eating establishments, a conference, a aquatic center, other skate or sports events or areas, and also bungalows, which the HCDA, just in their past meeting amended to accommodate for bungalows, because technically the amendment as it was, the rules, it would not allow for this type of building to happen here. And so you have to think of, if you're going to have eating establishments or even wait for, you're going to need restrooms to wash your hands. So water is going to be used not only in the pool, but all around constantly. And so again, this is fresh water. People are thinking, well, why don't you use salt water, or even some brackish water? It's fresh potable water. And like Teacher Hanani said, to re-stress it again, that there's still 60,000 gallons of fuel that we could not take out by gravity. In addition to the slugs that they have to be. So what this last thing I wanted to say is that wave pool have been open. They have been open, wave pools, and then 2 years later they're shut down due to issues. And so what then are you going to do? And in addition to that, use water and then injection wells, and again, so it's a whole ecosystem that we're building. And you can say that, yeah, but there's a wave pool, but this is specific areas, the Karst system. The KRST, the Karst system, which hasn't been extensively studied. One, due to the cultural elements, and that it is the place, to bury the EV, and so it hasn't been completely, studied. And so it already has been affected with the first wave pool. Now we're going to have this proposed second one. So you have to also, really look into wave pools and the opposition that there is, that's happening worldwide. And so, especially on an island, the most isolated and landmass, you have to really protect your resources.
Never mind.
I don't know. If you don't have this, I just want to mindset.
No. You don't want to.
And one of yourself.
Ooh.
Yes.
No worries.
Do you have anybody have
For sacred lands.
how people can help?
What did you learn?
Sign up for
Okay.
Thanks, man.
I got it in the myself. Hold on, give me a second. Just turn around.
Oh, that's cool.
No, yeah.
What is that?
A DGI.
DGI, we all gonna look them up, guys.
Yeah, so you guys can sneak them in. Just kidding. Yeah. So what I gotta talk about?
What did you learn? What would you like
What
to
brought
say?
you here? What compelled you to come? Is it something sparked in you? What in your spirit has brought you here?
You know, oh my gosh. I'm a UH student. Actually, yeah. And, my auntie was the one that brought me here. And when she first told me about it, well, the biggest issue too, because born and raised on the beach, we all knew the whole Waikato thing was coming up. And everybody in Eva knew it was like, everyone knew. And we all tried in our power to stop it, and it's today. you know? And the funniest thing about it is, you're right, it's like $200 to get in. Yeah, and it's only for like an hour or something. Yeah, it's expensive.
And you gotta bring your own board.
I think so. No quote me on that.
Okay.
But, you know, like, a lot of local families, you know, we use it because can bring the kids, right? Can hang out and whatnot. Cool. But then when you start realizing that all of this stuff is built on sacred ground, you know, that the salt flats that you were mentioning, you know, was desecrated. You're talking about, you know, hundreds and thousands of years of this all being here, now gone forever, right? So to me, you know, when us people in Evo knew about it, everybody rallied up, and like I said, it still went on. And you know, as a journalist too, like I try to bring up these issues and be like, hey guys, like we're rallying up, but we need our legislative to also be a part of this. You know, the people can say and speak whatever, but it's gonna be up to our policymakers to really put their foot down and be like, you know what? Let's advocate for our people, you know, because we make the body up of this state, our precious state. And I was actually learning about Maui too, and I know that the area used to be, I guess had like waterfalls and marshland and stuff. It was beautiful. I don't know what the area is called, but yeah, there was like a baseball field or something now. And and it's just run down. Nobody take care of it. It's unmaintained. And I just like, I get emotional because I'm like, wow, you know, you spend all of this money, you come here to our Aina, you spend all this money, and then you don't take care of it. You know, you just come, you spend your millions of dollars, and then you leave. You know, and what is that gonna happen to Waikai? I don't know. It's gonna happen here. I don't know. I hope not. You know, but it's the people. Your voice is the most important to get everybody to pay attention. Like, hey guys, you know, our community. If you guys keep acting up, thinking, oh, it doesn't pertain to me, or I'm not Maui, I'm not local, or I'm not local enough. All of this is gonna be taken away from our nose, right underneath our nose. And that's one thing that I'm learning growing up. You know, my family, we're from the plantation, you know, and seeing all the sugar mills close down, that was like a real rude awakening, you know, and what they did with that, and the way that they even treated our kupuna that have served and worked this community so hard. The way they treated them is like, whew, I don't like get into it, but you know. So I mean, this is really important what you guys are doing. You know, Godspeed. I really hope that the whole state hears about it. You know, because the more voices, the more push you guys are getting from the government to really take a stance. You know, like look at Lahaina, right? No one knew. It's a small town in Maui, right? Everyone in a small town in Maui. Who's that, right? But everybody spoke up. Everyone rallied. We had hundreds come out, right, to wear their shirts, and like it's just chicken skin moment. It's because it's the people. And the one thing too about Hawaii is like it's all of us, right? Like ohana and aloha, it's all of us. So we just gotta take care of each other, take care of our owner, take care of what is
I'm so glad that the next generation is here. As much as I like to say I'm next generation from my kupuna, but you're the next generation of that. There's how many generations already living right now, and we're in the 7th generation prophecy. And if nobody's aware of the 7th generation prophecy, go Google it. 7th generation prophecy. So it is prophesied across many Aboriginal nations, countries, regions that the 7th generation would be the one that returns everything back to peace, harmony, and balance, the oneness of all existence that was given to us from the onset. And we, through the demise of green power and over here from college, and you know, I'm so honored to be in the midst of those who are uplifting what we're doing, because you're going to be here. You're already holding that space. But to be the kia'i in itself, you guys are going to be there, but it's shown by the example of what's established now. And that's what's important. If we stop doing it, what's going to teach the next generation how to protect us? Right? If we don't do this, who
is teaching the next generation of what it means to be sacred, or hold and uphold things that are sacred, because that is where cultural practice of all aspects are held. Somebody has to practice it. And if nobody's practicing it, what is going to be left for the kids to know? I come from a lot of kahuna lines. My bloodline comes back to Ka'au and Pili. I'm a direct descendant of Pi'o, which is a high priest. And there's times in my spirit that I get a little like disgruntled, because that cultural practice I have to learn from the spirit realm, because nobody here from my kahuna bloodline is sharing about the cultural practice. This is cultural practice. This right here, that's cultural practice. And on a deeper level, my spiritual kahunaism comes from somebody teaching me. There's nobody to teach me. And so this right here is teaching the next generation through your media, through all of this. It's teaching the next generation what does that look like so it never dies. You cannot let this protector space just disappear. So,
Aloha everyone, my name is Hewa Pale. I am here at Kalaeloa at the proposed site for the second wave pool here on Oahu, and we are here holding space tonight. We'll be here till Sunday. Today we had a press conference, and we also made an announcement, about our commitment to protect this place that has burials, Karst wave system, Karst pool system, and a very storied history. So I'm here with Wayne Tanaka, and Wayne is from originally from Hawaii, Mauna Loa, right?
Yeah, Mauna Loa and then Hewa.
And then now in Hewa. Great. And then Wayne is a water protector, right?
Yeah, I can say that. So
just wanted to pick your brain, right? Education wise, then that's why we're here. That's the other part why we're here at Kalaeloa, camping out here on the side of the road, is we want to educate people on the issue, why we're here, why we're gonna be standing here for the next 2 days. But for us, the water issue is really important here on Oahu because of what happened with Red Hill in 2019, and before that in 2014, with the spills that happened as a result of the U.S. Navy negligence. So I wanted to ask you, so what is the state of our aquifer now?
We're in a space of a lot of uncertainty. There is a contamination plume from the Red Hill facility that is moving in ways that we can't predict. We don't have a good groundwater model. We don't have a good contaminant transport model, and as a result, we can't turn on some major wells that would otherwise serve about 400,000 people from Mauna Loa all the way to Mauna Loa. Moana Loa to Mauna Loa, and as a result, we're depending on other wells which aren't designed to be pumping as much as they are now, and so we have to watch those wells for water quality changes like saltwater intrusion and so forth, because that would result in even bigger challenges. Beyond that, we're also dealing with much other problems, right? So we have prolonged droughts, like historic droughts that have really dampened aquifer recharge. Our native watersheds, which are these really amazing groundwater recharging machines, are being impaired by invasive species, and so there's a lot of uncertainty. And if we're not very mindful of how precious our water resources are, we may be looking at some very difficult decisions as to what we put our limited water, how we use our limited water, whether which we need for pretty much every aspect of life. Not just water for drinking, but for for our hospitals, our schools, our businesses, our tourism economy. I mean, if we lose our water, then we lose everything.
Would you characterize the situation we are in now as a water crisis here on this island? And why?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We are. We just don't know. Like, we know El Nino's coming around, which means it's going to get very, very hot. Water demand is going to go up. We are looking at like a housing crisis, which means we need to figure out ways to house people, but that in itself will take water, right? And as far as we know, to replace the wells that are now shut down because of the Red Hill incident, that process will take 5 to 7 years if we can even find appropriate and safe places to develop new water sources, new wells.
And millions of dollars.
Oh yeah, and millions of dollars, yes.
Okay, so I wanted to make this really clear is that water is an issue on this island, and building a wave pool that will use 7 million gallons of potable water is a real issue. Today's news, I watched it for a little while. Brian Kilana's response was that they were probably not going to use fresh drinking water, but that was actually the argument that Waikai used to get their permit pushed. And then at the last minute, they said, after much studies, we cannot use brackish water because of the machinery, right? It wouldn't.
The rust.
Yeah. Do you know anything about that? I mean, what is your? Do you know brackish water? Do you know of any wave pools that use brackish water or?
Yeah, I'm not big in the wave pool scene, so I unfortunately don't know if there are any that use brackish water and how they are able to do so in a way that doesn't require like a massive amount of maintenance, because salt and metal don't really mix together very well.
Interesting. Okay, so my next question is about the Karst cave system that is really prevalent here in this side of the island. Can you share what you know about the Karst system?
Yeah. I mean, it's a very unique system. It's it's something that's been studied. There's all kinds of very special things about the Karst system in the Everplains. Which for me is why would you take this like priceless, like extremely precious and unique subterranean system and then use it as a dumping ground for your wastewater? It's also my understanding hydrologically very closely connected to the nearshore environment, and so anything we put into that Karst system, it will end up in our nearshore waters, which as we know here in Ewa are particularly renowned for their limu beds, like historically and currently, and so there's again a potential threat from discharge that might compromise the integrity of limu beds, and then all of the subsistence practices, the cultural practices, all the things that are tied to that, as well as the fish and the ecosystem that depends on our native limu species.
Yeah. So, do you think it's a good idea to inject "quote unquote" treated pool water into the Karst system? I mean, what would that do? What are some of the in your opinion, what would be some of the things that we might see if that happens? I mean,
beyond just I'm not sure what the right word is, but just the fact that we're using this priceless and very, very unique Karst system as a dumping ground, like my concern would be impacts to the unique life that may exist on there. We have all kinds of studies about the shrimp and other life forms that exist in this very unique habitat, and then also impacts, as I mentioned, to the nearshore environment, like the brackish water systems that support pretty much the building blocks for the larger environment, the limu and the diatoms that feed the kala and anai and all the other fish that people depend upon, as well as the limu itself, and then the cultural practices, the family practices, all those things that tie people to this place and to the aina, and that can remind us of how connected we are on a broader scale to the environment, like the things that we actually really very much depend upon and will need to do so even more as we navigate the climate crisis.
So, do you know if the Karst system is connected to the aquifer?
I mean, based on the definition of aquifer, I mean the Karst system would be part of the aquifer.
It is part of the aquifer.
I'm not, in terms of how the water flows, and I'm not familiar with the those hydrogeologic connectivities. I would assume that, I mean, there definitely would be connections to the ocean, to the nearshore waters here in Hewa and Pu'uloa.
Nice. I like what you said about the Karst system here in Hewa being the building blocks of life here, of the ecosystems, and that's really true, because if you disrupt, and when you talk about ecosystems, if you disrupt one part of it, it's going to affect all different aspects of it. If you disrupt the Karst system here, then it's going to affect the limu there and the fish that feed on the limu, and so it's kind of like a domino effect, right? Almost, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what this situation really illustrates, or what we really need to reflect on is all these things that we've kind of forgotten, right? We've forgotten how connected we are to the Aina, right? If you contaminate the aquifer, then people get poisoned. If you have PFAS and PCBs in the ocean and people eat the fish, then you have that stuff in your bloodstream. If you pave over or destroy the land, the soil that would feed you, then you starve. And so really, what I think this situation kind of illustrates is the inflection point that we are at, as people of Hawaii and as humanity.
And I think it's really important for the people of Hawaii, and because what happens here will affect the rest of the island, and that's the thing about living on an island, right? So understanding all the connections that how the water moves, we don't even fully understand how the aquifer and the water moves through the aquifer. So I think it's super important for us to become educated on these issues and topics and learn about these things, because when projects like this are proposed and they're proposing to use injection wells that will put the treated water back into the Karst system, then we need to understand what that's going to mean, not just now, but how that will mean in the future. So one of the things we did was we hired a hydrologist to study, what would happen, because what you're doing is you're putting more contaminants in the underground water, and he found that it would reach the ocean in, I think, approximately 25 years. But 25 years is 25 years, that's our children's generation, and so they'll have to deal with something they'll have to deal with that situation. So I just think that when you're talking about systems like this, you're also talking about the long-term plan of the future for Hawaii and the people that live here.
And I would also say, this is an opportunity to reflect, again, on really remembering the preciousness of life and of water that sustains all life and all aspects of life, and what kind of precedent are we setting or perpetuating when we utilize this precious resource for commercial gain, and really that kind of exploitation has been is recognized as the source of some of the greatest existential crises of human existence.
Yeah. So is there anything else you want to add about the water or situation? Just wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about what lies ahead, right? Like the world that our children will inherit. We know it's going to get worse. We know that we've taken too much carbon from the ground and put it into the air, that we're not going to get any kind of equilibrium for centuries. And so, you know, the droughts we've been seeing, the superstorms, like all those things will inevitably continue, even if we stop, you know, burning all fossil fuels like today. And so for us, that it puts it on us to think about, okay, how are we going to build a resilient and hopeful future? We're here in Hawaii, knowing what's happening with our our groundwater recharge, seeing what's happening to the places we import our food from. We really need to think about, for me, three things: why, like water and the source of life; aina, which feeds, physically, spiritually, and we also need to think about kaiaulu, our sense of community and connection, our social fabric, because when the disasters come, as they will, it's really going to be on us to remember to take care of each other, and to carry each other through, you know, the tough times ahead. Unfortunately, you know, I think with this situation we're doing here, it's the exact opposite of the thinking we need, right? Like, using water, not, for the entertainment of the rich, threatening our food sources, our limu beds, and all of the food that supports, and then just totally disregarding the community on Oahu that's right now facing some very uncertain situations with our water security.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for putting it in that perspective, because it's really not just about Kalaeloa. It's really about everyone that lives on this island and drinks water from the same aquifer. So thank you for coming, and thank you for holding space with us. And this is what this weekend is really about. It's just kind of like getting more information and educating the public, and refining our understanding of what this project will do if it's allowed to move forward, right? To not just our natural and cultural resources here in our iwi kupuna, but for our future. Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. And make sure everyone signs our petition. It's on our website, nakiaiowaiha.com. We had 300 signatures today. That was great. We just started the petition, and so we had a really successful first day of occupation here at Kalaeloa. Aloha, everyone. Surf village, complete with a surf pool with using 7 million gallons of our fresh water, and it'll end up desecrating our iwi kupuna, which are buried here behind us, as well as destroying important Karst cave system that is part of a whole fragile ecological system here in Kalaeloa. So I want to introduce our president, Trina.
Aloha ka'iolani, aloha mai kako, aloha kakahiaka ya oko. Happy to be here. Please share this live. We're excited to raise awareness for our lahui. We believe that empowerment is totally important for the next generation. Without the future, where will Hawaii be? And so we're just honored to have a special guest today to share her ike and her expertise, and how we can raise that continued awareness within our moku, within our ahupua'as, our ilis, wherever heahala we're in our pai'aina. So please share our live and come on down if you guys in the area. Mahalo.
And I want to mahalo Kahaka for that beautiful
mahalo
kani pool. And so mahalo ya oi Danny I ka hele mai ana I ki ia wahi, e kako o ia mako I ki ia noho ana o ka aina, I ke kia I ke kia I ana I nā iwi kupuna, I ka wai, a me ke kia I ana I nā holoholona a me nā mea kanu. Ko mako ohana I Kiawahi. So thank you so much for coming and for being here and for speaking on this place and the importance of this place. So if you can kind of share, and I want to calamite to everyone, we are on the side of the road, so there will be times where cars, and we're actually next to a airport as well. Cars and planes will be flying or passing by, and there will be noise disturbance, but I calamite in advance. So if you can tell us about yourself, Danny, and like, you know, where you're from, where you grew up, and what you're studying, and your ohana.
Yeah, ano ay kalo kako obo Danny Espiritu hanai ibo ma Hewa me kane ohi makolo poko aka no Waimalu ever ohana makaau mama. So kino hanewo ilela ikiamanava. So I'm from Danny. I grew up in Kalaeloa and Hewa and Ko'olopoko, but my mom's side is from Waimalu in the Moko of Ewa, so directly across Pu'uloa. And so I've been living there with my kupuna for the last 15 years or so, and do a lot of aina work restoring lo'ikalo out there in Kalaeloa. So for those of you who are familiar with Her Ridge Center, that area, that ahupua is actually Kalaeloa, and was like famous for freshwater springs, famous for lopo'i'a and lo'ikalo. So abundant in Vai, as was true of all of Ewa, that Mo'iwahine Kalani Manuia, the daughter of Kukaniloko, chose to live there, and is credited with developing that whole system, all of those systems. And so we're trying to restore lo'ikalo out on that side, and that drew me into a lot of the Vai movements that, you know, we got to develop Pilina on, because we can't do anything without Vai. We cannot practice any part of our culture, and we cannot live without Vai. And so that kind of drew me in. I'm also in a doctoral program at UH Manoa, focused on restoring OEV food systems, specifically spring-fed lo'ikalo in urbanized spaces, and reconnecting Kanaka and Aina and looking at what are the effects of health, and why is that good for our community and good for not just Aina but also people, and how we need each other. So.
Beautiful. Mahalo. So, so my first question is, like, can you tell us some of your work that you're doing at Pu'uloa? You know, when you were speaking, I'm sorry, I just got emotional because so important.
Yeah, it is. It hits home. You said very important. We cannot do nothing without water, and we need to make sure there are opportunities for the keiki to be able to engage in that, because that's who we are, right? What you're doing, it is. I'm getting choked up too, because spring-fed lo'ikalo. You know, I shared in an interview yesterday how important it is to eat of our ahupua'a, because that mana is reciprocated to everybody who partakes of it. And for us, it is the existence of our mana comes from that reciprocation from Vai, that comes from, you know, Vakia, and it comes through, and it just makes its way, and it feeds all of us. It nourishes us, not just physically, but in our spirit. And our next generation needs to be able to have those opportunities that our kupuna always was their existence, you know. So mahalo for that service and taking your doctorate in that area, because it's imperative. Nobody's making sure that that's available for the next generation. So your work will usher in that understanding to keep in continuity for perpetuity, and that's beautiful. So mahalo for that work. Yeah.
So if you can just share, thank you, mahalo Chino. I know it's just, I think it hits home for us as women because of our deep connection with the waters of life as the carriers of the Vaiola. So I wanted to just hear a little bit about, you know, your work that you do in Pu'uloa.
Yeah, so we have I'm a part of an organization called Ho'ola Ho'ia Kalaeloa. So of course Ho'ola life, you know, to thrive, to be vibrant, and then Ho'o, the causative, right, to cause that to happen. And the Ho is because I think for those of us who are familiar with this side of the island, at least in my age, like growing up in the 80s and 90s, that severing of Pilina had already begun. Yeah, I didn't grow up seeing Ewa as a place of abundance in the way that I realized as an adult my kupuna did. You know, all the buildings were there. Porridge Center was there. We already knew we couldn't touch the ocean. We already knew we couldn't swim in the streams. The streams are already channelized. The streams are already cemented. And so I didn't see it as a place of abundance. Instead, I was taught that those waterways were dangerous because they could get you sick, so don't touch them. And so I think for me, even in looking at the last 3 generations in my ohana, you know, we found pictures of like my mom's generation swimming in our stream before it was channelized, or my grandparents have told me stories of walking down from our house not even a mile to the ocean and just gathering. She was like, yeah, you just stick your hands inside the sand and the lepo, and then you get clams, and then you go home and you eat. And I was like, oh, when did you folks stop being able to do that? She's like, oh, I don't know, like they just started putting up signs saying it's contaminated, so you cannot do that anymore. And so, you know, seeing in 3 short generations the ability to subsist off of the kai and to subsist off of our kahavai and things like that, to being able to not even being able to touch them. And I think it speaks to your point before, in terms of, you know, if Costco never exists, or all of these places, Safeway or whatever places we see as the places for food. And we really saw Aina as Aina and the place where we would gather food, our relationship would look different. If that was the only place I could get Ia, or if that was the only place that I could get Kalo, and these waterways were contaminated and going to flood into it, like the area that we live used to be, you know, Lo'ikalo, like that whole, if you're familiar with Waimalu Plaza, where like City Mill and Safeway and that whole area, that was all Lo'i before. I have some old maps from the early 1900s that shows it in Rice, which tells me that a couple decades before that it was Lo'i. And then they build that channelized canal on the left side between the elementary school and that shopping center to be able to build. Yeah, so you build these canals, kind of like Alawai. You build these canals to be able to dry out Aina so that you can develop and you can build. And so part of our work is shifting, I think, the psyche of our community, where for those in my generation and even in the generation before, we've developed this relationship with concrete and this relationship with buildings, right? Like I've heard I'm on the neighborhood board in our community. I've heard like, oh, Porridge is like the heart of our community. I'm like, what the hell? Like that, it's you know, like that's so twisted. Yeah. We cannot eat concrete. Yeah. Like it's so twisted. How can we have a relationship with a building and forget that for millennia, that was all Lo'i. The biggest springs in our community sit underneath Porridge Mall. We have maps of that. The Kahuawai sit in that area, and that whole side of the mall was all spring-fed Lo'ikalo, and then on the other side it was fed by Kalaeloa stream. And yet we've, in a short time, forgotten all of that, and so a huge part of our hana, at least in our community, right now is trying to shift that and remind our community that Aina is Aina. Like this is still a Hawaiian place. Our Inoa Aina are still important, and so part of the naming, the mahi'ai of the space that we care for, Anthony DeLuz, he's the one that founded the organization years ago. They were intentional to include Kalawau in that because everybody's like, oh yeah, you know, like down by Club City, or like down by Porridge, or down by Aiea, and those are all false names. Like Aiea is an ahupua'a name, but it's the next ahupua'a over. That the city got named because that was where the sugar mill was. And so there are 4 ahupua'a that comprise the city of Aiea. So you have Palava, Aiea, Kalawau, and then Waimalu. And that all comprises the city of Aiea. And so even like shifting the language, like my mom them live in Honouliuli, but everybody always talks about only this area as being Ewa and not from Halava all the way out to this side. And so shifting that, no, like we're still in Ewa on that side. There were Pilina across these ahupua'a. And yet, on this side of the island, if we look at a map, like our ahupua'a are so thin. From my house to the farm, I pass 2 traffic lights, and that's 2 ahupua'a. And that was because of the abundance of vai in these areas. And so even remembering the mo'olelo of like Kane and Kalaeloa coming through Ewa with the o'o and plunging it into the ground and then planting their ava, it speaks to the springs in our area and the streams, and there's incredible amount of abundance, but like you said, it's under bridges or under concrete, and it's become, you know, channelized and cemented and diverted. And so in addition to the actual hana on aina and creating and holding a space for people to come and help to restore, it's starting to shift those mentalities and remind ourselves, you know, similar to what folks in Ko'olaupuka are doing, you know, like Maya and Kaleo them out at Uko, reminding folks that like, no, Kailua is a Hawaiian place. Like there are all of these mo'olelo. There's a fish pond right under all of this overgrowth. You know, that there were over 100 fish pond in Pu'uloa that fed our communities, that like just, if you go to the ocean from my house, right, for those who are familiar with where Blaisdell Park is, that used to be a 12-acre fish pond right there, called Pa'akia, right at the mouth of Waimalu Stream. And if you were to walk less than a mile down the road, there was another big fish pond called Opu that's credited with having been developed under Kalani Manuia. If you walk a mile down the road at quote-unquote Magru Point, yeah, there's another fish pond called Pa'ayao. And so there's just such abundance in such a small area that I think a lot of times we forget about. And so I think it's connecting those mo'olelo, teaching people how to access them. We have a small hui of folks that we're working on, you know, like developing lo'i with, that we're also wanting to show. Because like for a lot of us, I had to go to a graduate program to learn how to use the archives. You know, it's so stupid. And that's the only way that I can learn how to, you know, access palapala, access mahele documents, access the testimonies, or like the archaeological dig records and all of those things. And it's so backward, because how are we going to be able to restore aina in the way that our kupuna saw it? Because it's so different than how we see it now. If we don't know how to access and to read their words, you know. And I think it's the setup of the American assimilationist like education system, that we're not taught how to do those things. We're not taught that they even exist, and how to interpret and connect with our kupuna through those types of sources also.
Thank you, mahalo.
Yeah.
That was very deep.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here thinking like, wow, you're doing such beautiful work. And I was going to ask, you know, what is the neighborhood board that you're a part of? What are they supporting in hopes of maybe restoring, supporting the work that you do in your academic space? Can they bridge? Do you see a bridging? Do you see the community asking the neighborhood board outcry? Can we restore? What are the parameters? Do you find that the neighborhood board has limited restrictions on what they can facilitate to hako'o or encourage or push through into the city council or whatever, because it sounds like a beautiful thing that you're doing that we should have going on in every ahupua'a, or even ilis. Like our ohana comes from Ho'ai'ai, and it's a ili, but water ran through it, and we're not by oceanside, but they had mala by the abundance up there, right? And so it sounds so beautiful, and I would like to see that for all of our keiki to partake in every ahupua'a, because it is the mindset that we have to shift. In colonization, the propaganda came heavy, and it really separated us from the truth of who we are, and that was done by design. Because if you can separate us from what nourishes us, what keeps us connected in the Ike Ku'una Hawaii that gets passed from Aina Kupuna to us, then you can kill us off. And so how do you see, or is it working? Are there steps between your county work or volunteer to your academic? Can there be a mesh? Is there opportunities for people with the same desire to restore and can bring that to their neighborhood board? Because if what you're doing is powerful and you know the capacity of the board, what could you share to other people to take it to your board? These are some things that the board can facilitate because it is necessary. We know it's necessary for our existence to be a part of the Aina, to kanu our mana within our ahupua'a. It's imperative. but it's not facilitated. It's not encouraged. I come from DOE, our background is science, and it's not there. If a teacher chooses to incorporate Ike Ku'una Hawaii,
battling everything.
Yeah, because the benchmarks come from America. The Hawaii Content Performance Standards come from America. And even though they try to incorporate in some capacity, it's very slim. And so teachers kind of step outside of that boundary in order to make sure the next generation of not just Kanaka Maoli keiki, but keiki who are born and raised here need to be able to understand, because the perpetuity in your service, in your hana, in your academics comes from making sure the next generation has that in their grasp. And if it's not within reach, it's, I don't want to say it's poho, because I don't believe in that, but we need to bridge that. And how, sitting in this seat as council, city neighborhood board, and then your academics, where do you see, because you hold two hats, how can we bring the two together in order to facilitate more work to Holomua for our keiki for the future of Hawaii? Because we need it. We need to make sure it's being incorporated. So what are your thoughts? Sorry, said I'm
No. Our board is a bit unique. I'll just say I'm going alone in it, and so I think like there are other boards that function differently, and where you have enough people who are of the same mindset that you can actually effect change. I think right now, because I'm honestly the only one that is not pro-development, I'm the only one that thinks from this perspective. I think there are others on the board or in that space that are like supportive of like history and legacy, and those are the words that are used, but it's a plantation history. And so like, you know, like the sugar mill get knocked down, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I cannot. You know, and so it's a struggle to be in that space. And I think in this last season, I've really taken time to reflect on, okay, like what is my kuleana in that space? I think there's the opportunity for folks who are, or even just show up to the meetings, to develop pilina with the stakeholders and with those who are in positions of power, so that if the community has something that they want to push through, then those pilina are already set, and then it's easier to push it through. So like, for example, on the Red Hill side, we did a lot of organizing on the boards to pass a reso, you know, about shutting down Red Hill and things like that. So in terms of the board, like there's no voting power or anything within the government structures, but because the board interfaces at least monthly, you know, with like somebody from the governor's office and the city council and all of these entities, and depending on the community, the entities can shift on who shows up. But you get a sense, it's an opportunity for me to keep an ear to the ground on things that would just get passed through if not. You know, and so like in our community, a lot of it is tied to development, a lot of it is tied to rail and what they're calling transit-oriented development, which is essentially gentrification along the rail line. And the Aloha Stadium, you know, development where they're trying to build freaking hotels and shift the designation to mix so that they can have a shopping district and hotels, shift the zoning and all of that. So it's like it's an opportunity for me to keep my ear to the ground. Personally, just because of the way that our board functions, it's unfortunately not an area where I can really push in terms of advocacy. Like I already the angry Hawaiian on the board. Like I'm already that person. And I'm seen that way, and I'm the youngest one, and you know, like all of the things. And I'm a woman, and you know, it just functions that way. Like that's how unfortunately our board functions. I think with enough people, yeah, it could be a beautiful place. Like I look at how other, like the Waimanalo neighborhood board and how other areas function, where you can start to do more of that. But yeah, I think on that end, it's more challenging. So
it's impactful if our people do come to. I'm just you know, putting it out there. Does it make a difference that our people show up to the neighborhood board? Do they continue to bring their concerns such as this? Right, because where you're at, it's cemented already. Right, and this area right here, Pu'uloa. I mean, we got military going on, but there's this right here. If people showed up, I mean, because the kuleana of the board, right, is to listen to the concerns of the community. And so if the community is showing up and advocating in a certain way, then it also allows the members of the board who
our friends or like, you know, are like-minded to be able to actually say, hey, no, the community is asking for this, we need to, and to push in that way. And so that's been helpful also. I think so. It's like the strategic, on the backside, like discerning who will be the top cover so that the what we really want to get pushed through can get pushed through. And that's kind of one of the strategies, you know, that we used on the Red Hill side, where it's like, okay, we'll be strategic and visit different neighborhood boards. A bunch of us will show up, will testify, and then it'll allow the people on the board who are actually friendly to what we're trying to push through to be able to advocate and actually say, no, like the community is saying this. And then it's not an argument among the board.
That's beautiful, because then if a lot of people are replicating that throughout different boards, now all these head of the boards are coming to their heads and going, there's a consensus throughout Oahu. This neighborhood board reported, this neighborhood board report, they don't want, you know, whatever it is. So I think it's helping our people to empower them, where to take their voice, how does it matter? You're doing beautiful work, right? How do we bring that unification? And so thank you for helping our people know that we don't have to be the angry Hawaiian. I mean, take your concerns.
You don't need to be the only one.
Yeah.
And I just want to announce too that, and I think there is going to be a future announcement that we do have our first island-wide on Oahu position on Red Hill that was passed by all neighborhood boards. So that took a lot of organizing. That was 2 years in the making. That Danny was a part of, I was a part of. We all just kind of took turns. It was like tag team with getting, but the neighborhood boards don't have much power. That's the other thing too. But I like our sister Tara always shows up. But but what I wanted to ask you is, okay, so Pu'uloa this is not Pu'uloa, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So Pu'uloa is over there. So what is the relationship between Pu'uloa and here, Kalaeloa? Like, how, like, is it near, and what is that? What does this area look like? How much people were supported in this area, like of, you know, in this whole ever Honouliuli Pu'uloa area?
Yeah. I don't have the exact numbers. I can try pull them up later. But what I was told is that Pu'uloa was essentially the breadbasket for this entire area, and so from Halava all the way to Honouliuli, because we have several, I mean in English we call them locks, we look at Pu'uloa, Keawalau o Pu'uloa, the locks of Pu'uloa. So you have the eastern lock down where on our side, the middle lock closer to like Waikele, Waipahu area, where all of the vessels are, a lot of the military vessels are now, and then West Lock near Kapapapuhi. So if you're coming out right across from the hospital, you go in there, there's a group of folks who are restoring Kapapapuhi and that area on that side. And so within that, I remember I found a map one time and it had maybe like 40 fish ponds. And so we were talking about it online, and then one of the uncles was like, no babe, there were over 100 fish ponds, you know, because there were also ohana fish ponds that were all throughout this whole area. And if we think about the mo'olelo with Kane and Kanaloa and that much wai that was coming out of springs leading to the ocean, there was all of that brackish water, and all of that ono that could attract fish in this area. And so on this side, you know, closer to Kalaeloa, there would have been a relationship. As I was in Pule, kind of thinking about, okay, like what might we share. I just was getting a sense of it as a like Hewa hileo paipaya oko. Like just the encouraging word for you folks is just to, I just can read the words of our kupuna.
Of course, yes, that would be great. That would be so inspiring.
And so
they need to be here at all times, and we need to always reference that for teaching the next generation. What does it look like to walk with kupuna, right? So please share.
Yeah, so this is these are just excerpts from the Mo'olelo Hi'aki Polio Pele, and so this is from when they're at Hoka'i, and they're getting ready to head out, and she is coming. She's gonna be traveling on Aina, and then find it. They're saying goodbye to a chiefess Makua. Yeah, and so Hi'iaka is electing to travel overland from Waianae through to Ewa, and then Wahine Oma'o and Lohi'au are going to be traveling by Wa'a. And so she's kind of explaining, they start their journey, and then she's describing their return. So she says, Aloha ka hau o ka ala, oia hau, hali hali a ala mau nene, honi au ke kupa o pu'loa, he loa ka imina e ke aloha e. So he says, beloved is the dew of Ka'ala, that dew which bears the fragrance of the nene grasses. Kiss the natives of Pu'uloa, one searches far for love. Right? So that tells me that the fragrances of this certain mo'u, these certain grasses that grew all in this area. Yeah. So it tells me that the terrain at that time was a lot of lowland forests and lowland grass areas, and that the wind, it talks about the connection between Ewa and Pu'uloa. Ewa and Waianae, where the wind would come through. The wind from Ka'ala would come through and blow in this direction. And so it says, preparing to depart from the village of the chiefess Makua, Hi'iaka elected to travel overland through Waianae to the heights of Pohakea and across the plain of Honolulu. Hi'iaka made preparations for Lohi'au and Wahine Oma'o to travel by canoe from Koka'i to the landing at Kou in Honolulu. Before letting them depart, Hi'iaka instructed her two companions. As you travel, you arrive at a place where a point juts out into the sea. That will be Kalaeloa. Yeah, Kalaeloa. Do not land there. Continue your journey forward. As you continue your journey, you will see a place where the ocean lies calmly within the land. That will be Ewa. Do not land there. As you continue your journey, you will reach a place where the mouth of the land opens to the sea. That is Pu'uloa. Do not land there. That is the entryway to Ewa. And then from the heights of Pohakea, Hi'iaka looked out to the shores of Ewa, where she saw a group of women making their way to the sea. The women were going down to gather papa'i, crabs, and limu, seaweed, and to gather the mahamoi or kupu, which are both just like shellfish, small shellfish, yeah, and such things as they could be attained along the shore. Hi'iaka then began to chant about those ladies. Kamakani kehau o lalo o Waiopua. The kehau breeze is there below Waiopua. Ko ke kula na'enaela I ke kupu kupu, bearing the fragrance of the kupu kupu ferns across the plain. Moi no keanu o kamau. The coolness is laid upon the grasses. Moi a kula ke kai o Ewa I keanu. A coolness laid upon the sea of Ewa. Ewa is made cold. E ha maue a ua makanine. Because of the fish that hushes voices, be silent in that breeze. Yeah, and so it speaks to that i'a hau mauleo. Yeah, the oysters or the clams that are abundant in Pu'uloa, for which quote unquote Pearl Harbor gets named, right? And all of the mo'olelo that are tied to that. It says anu Ewa I ka i'a ha mauleo e ha mau ho'ie. Ewa is made cold because of the fish that hushes voices, be silent. And so it goes on to talk about just the beauty and abundance in this area. But I think like in today's world we see certain distinctions. Yeah, like this is I grew up knowing this place as Barber's Point, and then then Kalaeloa and those Inoa Aina and Inoa Kupuna began to resurface and be remembered, but like there's a distinction between this and then the city of Kapolei and then Ewa Beach and all of these things. But I think the way that our kupuna thought, these resources were all connected, and the way that the wind blew in certain areas and the way that the sea was harvested and whatnot, like a lot of the, I think, barriers or divisions that we've created through cities or through buildings or through roads and things like that, I don't know that they saw it that way, like there is such abundance. Like the ocean is not that far this way, it's not that far this way, and there is incredible amount of abundance, and so I would imagine that there was a kuleana also, because we also know that you cannot grow food just in the area that you're growing food. Yeah, like my ability, if I had a local i'a straight this way, my ability to have i'a in there was contingent on all of the other conditions around it. Yeah, I needed to make sure that the vai that was coming out from the puna, the springs that were emptying into the ocean, or the stream that was emptying into the ocean, was healthy. I needed to make sure that the offshore fisheries were healthy. Yeah, that there was limu, that there weren't air pollutants that were coming in, that the things that were happening up in the mountains were pristine, because all of that affected what I saw in a system. All of those systems were connected. And so I think I think like sometimes, because we unfortunately don't always have the privilege to be able to steward those like food systems in the way that our kupuna did, we forget that, like, yeah, I can have aina in this area, but it's not going to be abundant if everything else around it is not cared for and is not abundant. The reason I was late is because I was caring for my kupuna, and I woke her up before I left. She had breakfast, and then I was like, hey, I'm going to see those folks on, because we saw you folks on the news, the press conference yesterday. I was like, you have any mana'o? And then, of course she was like, oh, no. I was like, no, like, I know you folks always used to come out over here and holo and stuff like that. And then so I was just kind of trying to prompt her, and I like get them right. I wrote them down. And she was like, no, it was just so prosperous. She said there was so much fish, there was so much kala, there was so much limu. There were like turtles, like you have everything that you need. And I think for her, so this grandmother was married to my Hawaiian papa, and she's from Samoa, so she's from Amauli and Tutuila in American Samoa. And so I think coming over, like seeing the connections at that time in the 40s and in the 50s, with being able to subsist on aina here in Hawaii also, and hearing Olela Hawaii on the buses when she would travel to school and all of that at that time with the kupuna. And so she said, like it was just so abundant that it felt like all of that was just given to people to be able to live. And she was describing it, and she's not a very emotional person, but she was describing it with such beauty. And so then she goes, like, why the heck would you? She said, why would you destroy that? It's so stupid, And just an encouragement to you folks who are here and are choosing to be present here. She's like, just go to the ocean. It's right there. But remembering the abundance of the resources at that time. And even, she talked about the kala, and kala feeds on limu, and the abundance of limu in this area. And like we said before, all of the conditions need to be right in order for all of those things to thrive. And I think, our government definitely ignores that. But I think even in our communities, there's so much stuff happening all over the place. But I think on the flip side, it can feel so overwhelming. But I think on the flip side, it's also the encouragement that, like if we are really able to discern, okay, what is our kuleana, what is our lane, and I'm just gonna do that. All of those ripples together is similar, right? We're caring for these resources. We're caring for the different areas. Whatever metaphor we use, right? We can talk about kipuka and the throwing of seeds to be able to regenerate the forest in other areas. If all of these kipuka are throwing seeds, then we're doing that collectively across the board. And so, yeah, just a little pipe to you folks, like this. And for those who are in the classroom, and for those, who are in government, or whatever it might be, whatever our lane is, I think, as we really awamo kuleana in those ways, and then look up and try see how we can link up and how we can kako each other, I think that becomes the essential thing.
That's the biggest pebble in the pond effect that we can create, right? Is working together, because that shift in the collective consciousness of who we are as a people is going to come by the collective unity of, even though, like you said, we're in our lane, but when you connect that, then it becomes like, everything is impactful. I'm not trying to say, one isn't, but when we can unify and bring each other together to kako'o, then we're listening to our kupuna first and foremost, right? Because we cannot create change. You can create change, but collectively, it's more impactful when we do it together because we're unifying each other between ahupua'as through our kupuna and amplifying that mana together, right? So, yeah, mahalo.
So, Danny, may I ask you, have you heard and do you know the oli for halau pu'ula? You don't? No, I can share that. And you know how you're saying unifying, and I think what you just brought up, which is super important, the words of through oli, through keeping it alive. And so, in your mind, would you think that doing the oli for pu'ula, how it's connected to here, would be a great way to unify people to kind of connect?
Absolutely, yeah. Like
so, I can help every
together. And like alivaw hime hula. Yeah, like I'm not a hula person, but what I learned from folks who have been raised in certain traditions is, there's something about certain ho'ike and whatnot, but I think like the vai and the i'o of it is to be able to speak certain oli or mele or do certain hula in the vahi for the kupuna of those areas to hear them and to connect, right? And so that's how we bridge that generational gap, right? The kupuna aina or the kupuna kai, as well as the kupuna kanaka who have lived in those areas. And I think that's where those generational, genealogical, and spiritual connections come.
So if you would like, I'll be able to share. I was able to learn that oli, and we can learn it, and then we can do it together to really kind of connect.
Yeah, that would be beautiful.
So I wanted to point out the fact that you, the stories that you shared, it really speaks to the connection of everything, kind of like what Tita Ka'iolani, Trina said. So, like, the fact that she made the connection from Mount Ka'ala all the way down to Ewa and to Pu'uloa, that is amazing because that shows a universal perspective of Oahu and our world and how connected it all was, right? Because it was, and that's how Hawaiians and our kupuna saw this place. And so, as a kia'i and a taro farmer, I guess my last question to you, I just wanted to point that out, how beautiful that was. Like, it was just, everything was all connected, right? Like, she saw, like, it was as if when she spoke of Ewa, and she connected it all from Waianae in just one olelo, like, just it's all connected here. So I guess my question to you would be like, like, what is the work that you're doing with, through education, like through the next generation? And I know you're working with educating the next generation. I think that's super important because if we're not perpetuating it, then I guess, it's not, then what is our purpose, so.
Yeah, professional. My background is actually in teaching, so Vincent was my student when I used to teach intermediate. I used to teach in the DOE intermediate, and I since then have pulled out of the classroom and joined this program, and since then have been doing more work on the flip side outside of the classroom, and being able to kako'o kumu, who, like you're saying, right, like the law is there, but there's no support to be able to do it. You just gotta do it alone, out of your own pocket, figure it out. Buses is like $500, like all of those things. And so I think it's shifted for me personally in the last few years. Like, I was working with UH College of Ed in their teacher preparation program. And so I think I don't know that that's a place where I will find a home. I mean, no matter what system we're in, right, we're going to be the only ones for a little while until we can create that space. But I think that's a huge part of it because I had colleagues who, were interested, but there's nothing. Like, you can become a teacher and there's nothing that you have to learn that grounds you in Hawaii. You take that one, if you go to school in Hawaii, you take that one, like 100 level language class that everybody has to take or whatever. and then that's about it. And so I think, you know, that's a key part of it is the bridging systemically, the bridging between the policy, right? Because the Constitutional Convention in the 1970s pushed through so that Hawaiian studies and Hawaiian language, and there's a value legally for these things, but there's a complete breakdown on the structural support for them. And since then, you know, the Office of Hawaiian Education has formed, and then there's all of these and all of this kind of stuff. And there are good people trying to do things in pockets, you know, in those areas. But I think there's a breakdown in terms of actually equipping kumu to be able to do that, or a value of practitioners, you know, either coming in or support for students to go into the community. So for example, like my last year that I was in the classroom, I used to teach in Waimano, so we wanted to take our students to one of the nearby lo'i in Waiava. It was $1,000 for that field trip, one day, because of buses, because of site visit fees, which is understandable, like those people need to make a living also. But for one day, so just a drive-by field trip one time. But when I was there, I had students who were Hawaiian, did well in school, but you know, the things that is not our fault that we consume about what it means to be a Hawaiian in the education system. As she was learning about the structure of the lo'i there, she was like, wow, like Hawaiians are really smart, ja. I was like, yeah. Like, think about it. You need to know all of the science of all of these things, where the springs are, how to orient your patches, where to build your local ia and all of that. She's like, wow. You know, and I think just like seeing that shift for a Kanaka who was taught that Hawaiians were stupid, yeah, or Hawaiians were not the intelligent ones, were not the scientific ones, were not the ones that, you know, were poetic or whatever the lie may be, to get to actually see and experience that in action and connect with kupuna in action, I think is foundational. And so I think like creating those opportunities, like you cannot make a lesson plan for that, you know, like you cannot recreate those things in a bubble or in a building. You have to be able to take out. And so I think it's a mix, right? There's the training so that there are kumu, there's the valuing of kumu who already have that background. We're at the point where, you know, we have generations of people who have now gone from punana leo all the way through college who can olala Hawaii in the home. And so can we value those folks and then support them to go through school to be able to become kumu. I think there's also the like for us in our community, you know, like one of my back burner dream projects is like we don't have it doesn't need to be a charter school, but we don't have a Hawaiian place of learning in between like Halau Kumana in Makiki, and then there's Waiau, you know, which is a dual immersion campus, and they have a long wait list, and then all the way till you hit Nanakuli, there's a vacuum in the entire Moku of Ewa. And so can we create institutions of learning for parents who choose to put their children in there, where we can really support our kids so that they can be grounded in the place and not have to get on one bus and sit in traffic and go all over the island to learn from someplace else that's beautiful, and it's a beautiful wahi. But can we also create more institutions where our kids can be planted, right? There's Dream House and they're doing some great things, but like an actual kula that is devoted to, okay, what are the mo'olelo in Ewa? You know, what are the mo'olelo in Pu'uloa? How do we raise our students to have koleana to this place?
I share that. I share that with you to create a area that will specifically target, like for my daughter and I. You know, we're in that talks. We're actually drafting a layout plan for a cultural practice school for kids, because we're cultural practitioners, and 3 of my children went through immersion. One left in his senior year by choice, and my other one, he puka just 2 years ago. So the value of that is imperative, but to teach place-based learning in their own ahupua'a is important, because as much as they're in that location, right, they're commuting, like you said, we have to be able to have more of these opportunities to ground within our own ahupua'a, the keiki from that ahupua'a, so they have that imperative connection that never goes away, right? We got immersion kids that are leaving. They go, personally I know, they graduated, went to college, and now they're teaching at Kamehameha. And I'm just like, okay, that's a great place.
Right.
No offense, but they have, to me, immersion kids have the most grounding in more than any other academic institution that can provide the sustenance we need of our people. It's those kids. And I'm so proud of them. Like, as a mom who was cheering in football and supporting that, I was like, bro, you guys don't even know how much you're inspiring us and those who are looking from the outside. But it cannot just be one kula or two kula, right? Kaneohe get one over here, Waiao. My keiki went to Waiao, went to Nanakuli, then to Anuenue, and that cannot be the only places. And if it is mandated, we need to have more for our keiki and any keiki who choose to facilitate that.
Like, there shouldn't be a wait list.
Yeah, there shouldn't be a wait list. And if there is a wait list, then how can we kakoho the parents, the kumu, the pula, to say we need more? If there's funding that's codified into law that 20% of the general fund goes to facilitate for our needs, then how come we only get so many, right? That is pinnacle to our existence. There's these grassroots efforts, what you're doing, but is it enough? It ushers in steps, but I don't think it's enough to shift the collective. It's gonna take us eons if we're still we're gonna put this pebble and then add another one. We want boulders rolling into the change and effect to shift the collective, because this is our pai'aina. And the understanding of the entirety that's flowing here should be from that cultural perspective, because anything else separates us from life, separates us from everything that gives us life. And we're the people who facilitate that. We, through our DNA, our koko, brings forth that. And other people can facilitate it, but it's so impactful because we are of it. Yeah, and the connection is imperative for the existence of our people. I keep saying that, so sorry.
No, it's true though. You speak it.
So thank you for all that you do, because if you need to share people to come kako'o your work, who wants to come bring their keiki. I am a homeschool kumu. I've left the DOE, so I work with our 9 keiki, and then I help other parents who are trying to do culture, place-based homeschool learning, right? But I would love to have a place, but since you're facilitating some work, is there information you'd like to share for people to kako'o you? Any keikis that can come? What is the age range? Because it's important, the work that you do, especially in your location, right? We're from Wai'anae. My ohana is from here, and well, like 2 generations ago, they used to live in here. My grandfather was a conductor of the train that, my Portuguese side, and my Hawaiian grandma was living here. Her first husband passed, he was kanu here, and then she saw the conductor and made his new family, and that became my grandpa, right? But so we have connections here. We still have a lot of brown and a lot of green. In your location, it's a lot of gray, and so what can you share with the people who can kako'o you? What age? How can they just support you in that venture? Because what you're doing is so important for our people.
Mahalo. Yeah, so we have a community workday every 3rd Saturday at 9 o'clock. More information, we're on Instagram. It's at ho'olaho.ya.kalawau or ho'olaho.wordpress.com is the website. So all the information is on there, or Helen knows how to get in contact with me. But yeah, I think generally we have a community workday, and then of course for folks who are having iini to really like come often and whatnot, then we can always talk stories about that. I think with our site, as opposed to like other places, because we're dealing with, I think, certain challenges in an urbanized space, and we're not allowed to have somebody live there, it just becomes a little bit more complicated in terms of just having the place be open. So it's a lot more coordinating and just being maka'ala to, I mean, unfortunately, the things that are happening in a lot of our communities, tied to this disconnect between Kanaka and Aina, we see the symptoms and the fruit of that, unfortunately, in our spaces. And so, a lot of times it's just through conversation, and then as we build Pinina, then being able to.
So I'm going to ask you the hard question. How do you feel the wave pool will impact our ewamoku. You're very much grounded, rooted to your ohana to hold back this emotion coming up. But how do you feel through your na'au, through your kupuna, bring that forward to our people with your expertise? Sorry, trying to put these teams back. How do you feel as a person of our community, as an educator, as a person who is restoring what is important? How will this wave pool affect our moku and the next generation as well?
That's what it's all about. So I think that'll be our last question because we're like at the end of time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's different layers. So I think like on the physical layer, right? Like there's all of the gallons of water. There's the physical footprint that will happen. The drilling, like all of the physical trauma and the physical extraction that will happen. That I know you folks have done a really critical job and the critical work of communicating, right? The imprint and the layout on secret sites, on burial sites, on, you know, I was pulling up this old survey from this area, and it was saying, you know, like some of the earliest burial and some of the earliest dwellings in this community were right here. Yes. We're right in this area. And all of the quote-unquote sinkholes were the burial sites for iwi kupuna and whatnot. And so I think there's a physical disruption and trauma of that. And then layered on top of that, right, or perhaps beneath it, is the spiritual trauma that is happening on top of that, right? Where Evie is not just Evie, right? Like Evie is, there's the spiritual component as it ties to today. And so if we're talking about the trauma in our community in Waimalu or in Kalaeloa and on that side, part of it is our people are living out without even knowing it, the spiritual trauma of physical things that have happened centuries ago. And our Aina remembers, and our bodies remember, even though we physically were not around at those times, that our bodies remember and they hold those pieces. And so I think that's where like the physical and the spiritual kind of intersect. And then there's the cultural layer, right? Like, so I was sharing how in my lifetime, I never saw all of these things as quote unquote like places of abundance and food, because they were already contaminated by the time I was born. Porridge Center was already created by the time I was born. And so in a cultural sense, our generation was taught to connect with buildings. And so there's the cultural shifts that can happen where it's okay, you know, like it's teaching future generations, it's normal to have a wave pool less than a mile away from the ocean that's gonna be taking fresh water, polluting it, and then flushing it into the ocean in an area that is supposed to be for food. Right. And it's normalizing a completely ridiculous and oppressive practice. And I think that's something that happens again and again and again. Oh yeah, of course, let's build this canal to be able to dry out all of the lo'i at Waikiki. And it's normal to see buildings on top of a wetland that is made for lo'i kalo. Yeah, let's build this canal right next to Ka'onohi to drain all of the springs so that we can build this shopping center and call it Pearl Ridge Center and make that the heart of the Aiea community. And that becomes normal, and that's the narrative that gets retold. And so there's the threat of the cultural piece as well. And so it's like all of those things combined. And so for you folks to stand here, it's like you're standing at the intersection of all of those things. Yeah, you're physically here to pia'i these places. You're shifting the cultural narrative to remind us, like, hey, this is actually completely dysfunctional. The way that we are planning things is completely dysfunctional. We have just taught ourselves that it's normal to have concrete. We've taught ourselves that it's normal to have these freaking wave pools that are completely unnecessary, and that Aina is just a thing to build on, versus something that can actually sustain and give life to our people, and that our people also need to connect with. And I have one more kupuna,
yes,
one more kupuna thing.
Love you, kid.
So Uncle Henry Chang Wo, you know, like gave his life, to fight against development in this community. It was a kupa of Eva. And unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to spend a lot of time with him, but I've heard a lot about him and just the work that he's done through the mahi'ai at Kaonohi, Anthony DeLuz, because they were very close and were a part of fighting a lot of the development, unfortunately, of communities that we see today on this side. And so one of the things that he shared was, you're gonna have a healthy kai and healthy limu, but in order to do that, you have to watch that first drop of water up Moka, and then you need to follow it all the way down to the kai. Yeah, and so to what you were talking about earlier, Helani, right? There's a kuleana, the level of kuleana shifts if we really see Aina as Aina. If we really see Aina as alive and thriving, but also connected with all of the different components. And I think, to your question about this wave pool, that's land. Yeah, that's the definition of Aina as just land. It's just something to develop for the pleasure of people, as opposed to really seeing our health and our livelihood and our generational connection to Aina, right? Like the Aina here that we're on remembers thousands of years ago. And the kupuna, that continue to reside in these spaces. And so I think, it's those layered, the potential of layered trauma that will have ripple effects for generations if they choose to just ignore.
Thank you.
So your final answer, wave pool, no wave pool?
Only wave pool.
Mahalo
Thank
for your
you.
input.
Thank you so much, Danny, and mahalo for coming and just sharing space with us and supporting us here as we try to ho'oponopono this Aina and what's going on here. And I want to mahalo everybody for your support, and come out, and I'll put the website for Danny's for the area in Pu'uloa where Danny helps to malama, and if you're interested in going there to malama, just go and click on the website. Thank you.
Awesome.
Aloha. Thank you. Aloha. Aloha, everyone. Sealani Sonora Pale here with Nakia'io Waiha, and we are still holding space. It's day 2. It's day 2 of our occupation here at Kalaeloa in front of the proposed site of the wave pool, the wave village, that is going to be they're proposing to use 7 million gallons of fresh water for a 5-acre pool, wave pool, and on a site that has iwi kupuna, on a site that has the Karst sinkhole system that feeds our limu, and on a site that is the habitat for many, many endangered species. So I want to have everybody introduce themselves from Nakia'i Waiha, starting with Tita Tara.
Aloha, I'm Tara and I live here in Ewa Beach, Honolulu.
Aloha mai kako, o Kaiulani. My ohana is from this area, Kalaeloa, Pu'uloa, and Wai'anai. And my relation to this area comes through that descendancy. So very thankful to be here to bring all this information to you guys. Mahalo.
Okay. And then I was just going to introduce the Kia'i first. Sorry, cool. Here you go.
Aloha kako, oa o wahine Kaiulani. Noho, Mayau, o Wai'anai. But I'm here for the love of Eva.
Hi, I'm JP. Kale Akana brought me, and I'm here to stay.
Mahalo, JP. Mahalo. And so this is our second speaker today. We're going to have a discussion today with Kahu Kaleo Patterson. And our first speaker was Daniel Espirito. She talked about the Lo'ikalo and about her work at Pu'uloa. We're here with Kahu Kaleo Patterson. He is the chaplain for St. Stephen's Episcopal Church and also heads up Peace and Reconciliation Committee for the Episcopalian Diocese here. So if you can just share a little bit about yourself, Kahu Kaleo, and your connection to this wahi, but like your name, where you're from, and just your connection here.
Hello. Hello, everybody. My name's Kalaeloa Patterson. I'm from Makaha, and it's good to be here. I have ohana from the ancients and the ancestors of this place, history, and years ago, I can't even remember the dates, but I was involved with groups that had organized around the One'ula Ocean Point project and the proposed harbor, which is now some kind of a recreational pool, and so I have some history with that and this area, and I'm just remembering today. This area has been ignored for many, many years in regards to its cultural significance. It kind of looks like a place with just uplifted coral. But actually, I remember a meeting that we had many years ago at Komakapili Church. Puakanahele from Honokea Wave was with us, and we were talking about some of the issues. And she said, the places where there's uplifted coral, like One'ula, are very sacred places, yeah, that remind us about the origins and the beginnings of our existence on this earth. So if you go to the Kumulipo, she said, all of life comes out of the ocean, and the coral polyp is the first life form. And so that Ewa Plain, she said, a district of the chiefs. One'ula is the red sands, yeah. Very sacred place. And Mary Kavena Pukui writes about the sacredness of this place too, yeah. And so it's good to be here to talk story, yeah, and say a few words, yeah.
Thank you, Kaho. So we are interested in hearing about your work protecting One'ula, which is currently the site of Waikai Surf Wave Pool. And if any of you don't know, One'ula is actually referring to the red sands because it was the birthing sands of Ali'i. And so, and then that's one of the metaphors. But also, Uncle Wally Ito had shared that one of the other meanings of One'ula, which means red sand, One meaning sand, Ula meaning red, is the red seaweed, limu. Yes. In the ocean. And if you look, one of our favorite limus is limu kohu, and that area was very well known for limu kohu. And if you look at limu kohu in the kai, it looks red. So, but if you can just share a little bit about your work and project, yeah. And the some of the sites that you saw.
Yes.
And so just kind of lay the background of what happened.
Okay. Yeah. So years ago, I was on Kauai for many years, involved in many things on Kauai, and then came back to Oahu in the mid 90s. And around that time, the development of One'ula and Ocean Point was just beginning, and a lot of people in the community were concerned about that development, and the building of a big harbor that would be part of that development. And later we finally came to the conclusion that digging was necessary in order to create fill material to lift the elevation of the subdivision that was in the homes that were going to be built up Mauka from the ocean, yeah. And so they the developers needed the coral and needed to dig that and so they saved a lot of money. In the process, community analysis, determined that they were going to crack the caprock, yeah, and that they did, yeah. Water was leaking out. My recollection of the details are kind of fuzzy today. It seems like many years ago. But one of the other issues before they were digging, they were getting ready to dig out that section. And my organization, Pacific Justice and Reconciliation Center, we're asked to help families and cultural practitioners because there was evidence of fishing shrines in the bushes, of Onehula, right in the area where the
is that how bush?
Right in front of right Mauka in the Keawe, there were fishing shrines, tall coral structures, that if you walk through so we went to go see, and we had a photographer from Kamehameha Schools, Jan Beckett, and he had already walked through that area with, I can't remember names, but there were some very prominent people from Kamehameha that were aware of these fishing shrines, about 30 fishing shrines that were like statues, and they were located, if you walked through, you could see them. And they look so unusual, as if somebody stood them up, And, you'd be walking through the Keawe and then you'd see this, okay? And so they began to take photographs, and there's a book, you gotta go find the book by Jan Beckett of the fishing shrines of Onehula, And if you look at the fishing shrines, once those photographs started getting around, people were seeing faces, and all kinds of spiritual things that were coming out of that assessment. And so those fishing shrines, and also at the time we were able to get maybe 20 Hawaiian churches to learn about the issue. And I remember this day at Kauai Ha'o Church, we had 20 meeting of many of the Hawaiian churches, and the Hawaiian churches signed on. I think all the Hawaiian churches that were there signed on to a petition to stop the project and to reassess the cultural assessment that had been made. And Army Corps of Engineers, I think we went and delivered that petition to the offices of the Army Corps of Engineers at Fort Shafter, and they were kind. They received the petition, and then they stopped the project for a whole year and called for a reassessment of the cultural inventory and so on and so forth. And so that was significant, that the community was involved, and that the Army Corps of Engineers was willing to look at things that were being documented and things that were raising questions about the cultural and historical assessment and survey of the area. Also, we noticed in the archaeology that the history of the area was not really being depicted in a very strong way, and it was being diminished, the significance of the area. And so we had to bring forth a lot of that material as well, the historical historicity of the area, and some of the stories that were related to. I can just remember a few. Mary Kavena Pukui writes about walking through this place, and he makes comments about the writings about the historic significance. So I'm sure we have a new reason to revisit the history of this area. But now there's been more technology, more writings have been interpreted. I'm sure there's more history that has yet to be uncovered and told about this area. And so I want to just encourage people who have knowledge of this area to assist in the understanding again what this place is about, the significance. And I'm glad there's a group that's actively pursuing the increase of knowledge and the education and advocacy of these places. So this is we found in our research and in just walking the land, and indeed this area is a very sacred place. And when we were able to get a delay of the construction, we walked through again with cultural practitioners, and so it's important to bring cultural practitioners, not just archaeologists, right? And to bring families that may have. We discovered families, fishermen, coastal fishermen, that were aware of the fishing shrines, and had been making offerings to the fishing shrines. Okay, so that's cultural use, yeah.
Yes.
And nobody knew about that, but we had guys that stepped forward and said, "Oh, my ohana, we would always make hokupu, yeah, because we fish, dive, you know, the net, yeah, the uplifted coral, the karst, the sinkholes." We discovered and we all had to learn about these things. Still had opai ula, yeah, inside, yeah. You know the opai ula, yeah. Opai ula goes out into the ocean, and you have the akuli and the opelo, and so it's an ecosystem, yeah. This kind of area has its own ecosystem, which has developed over the years, and the Hawaiians. We're in synchronicity. Is that a word?
Yes.
We're in synchronicity with this land, yeah. And some Hawaiians in this area still cherish the limu. Where you used to have plenty of ogo over here, yeah, in the old days. Limu kala, limu koho, yeah. And so this is an endangered resource here on this coastal area. Yeah. Now, eventually, what the Army Corps of Engineers and the current legal system of the state of Hawaii, and we won't say too much about the state of Hawaii, but the laws and the policies were not good policies. We know a lot of laws needed to be changed, especially in burials. When Honokea was going off and burials were being put in the trash cans on Maui, new burial laws had to come about, and during the Waihe administration, a lot of burial laws were changed, cultural laws were changed, and Hawaiian rights, the Pash decision, Hawaiians have rights to go mauka and gather and do. All of those kind of laws came out of advocacy and activism. But we know that the laws that are in Hawaii to protect places like this can be stronger, yeah? Yes. And so sometimes when you have laws that are more beneficial to developers and outside interests, poho, yeah? Because Hawaiians have to come forward then, yeah? And have to develop strategies to, delay or stop projects that are deemed to be impactful. And eventually hopefully laws will be changed, yeah? And so a lot of issues, favor development, yeah? A lot of remaining lands in Hawaii are up for grabs when it comes to economic development things. So anyway, that's just a little bit, but maybe I should stop there because I'm talking story too much already.
No, thank you. That was awesome. Do you have any questions?
Yes. So mahalo for that beautiful ike that you have brought forward for all of the world to learn from. It's not just our moku specifically, not just our mokupuni, but whenever we have that wealth of knowledge that comes forward, we're actually bringing forward your kupuna and the kupuna in which you're channeling from the work that you have done, the hana. And I would personally like to ask you, in your work, in that specific hana and that ala that you took to Kako'o Eva, did you see a change within the community in that immediate action? I guess what we're doing here, we want to know that there is a trickle or a pebble in the pond effect where we stand, because maybe people aren't aware. People need that ike. So when you brought forward that change that was needed for that community or that awareness, how did that work? Based on what you saw in the lens of your work as a kahu or any one-on-ones, how was people's response to your action?
Yeah, good question. Yeah. So one of the big issues, as I mentioned, was the 30 or so fishing shrines, and so we worked hard to get those documented because we had a sense that those were going to go down, yeah. And so you do what you can, yeah.
Did they go down the 30?
Yes, they went down.
Took them all down.
They took them all down. And so what happened was after a year of, and so you use that time, yeah, to do more history, to bring more cultural practitioners to the area so they can learn, yeah, they can, and you want to document that history because, yes, it might happen. Everything's going to go down, but at least you're going to have that history. People will have some relationship with the Aina, yeah? So you use it to bring people to the Aina, and if anything, it's the Aloha Aina, yeah? The Aina, yeah? Now, those 30 sites, after 1 year, not Board of Water Supply, but the Army Corps of Engineers, in reviewing in that political process, said, I think the archaeologists and historic sites, they said, well, those shrines, and this is what they'll always say, and those shrines and a lot of those sea structures that are in the area, which is, you probably have a lot of stuff here. I bet you there's shrines here too, yeah? It said, those are not important. Those are look significant, but they're not important because we have examples of those on all the islands. And that's the
It's a confession.
Yeah, that's So they said we can take those out. They said you can take those out, right? So see what I'm saying? They're referring to a law that allows them to do that, right? So you have to change the law, right? And so I don't know if anybody worked on that, but that's the kind of thing that has to happen, yeah. So same thing with burials. The laws were changing. We worked on a lot of good laws. Those laws get reviewed every year by NAGPRA, right? They'll come to Hawaii. They'll go visit Indian country. And they'll review the laws and they'll make changes every year, yeah? So same with the archaeological stuff. I think there's more work to be done in that area. This is a good a project to revisit the laws that are allowing this and that, just to work it, educate people. Now those shrines went down. And of course, everybody unhappy, and but by that time there's a good community, yeah? People have been politicized, and so when the shrines went down, we did things like build an ahu, yeah, to aloha the shrines that were going down, and to have some ritual, yeah, and ceremony. So we built ahu, and then when those shrines went down, right before the shrines went down, the process did identify one site that needed to be saved, yeah? So you don't know how many sites you're going to save, but even if it's one, it's worth it, yeah? But this one site that was saved was a little site about like this, yeah? So we all walked through with the archaeologists and checking out all the sites. He said, well, but this one site was in the middle of the proposed harbor, right? In the front. So it was like right where the entrance to the harbor was supposed to be. And so that one site was determined to be something worthy to be saved. And even the archaeologists said that, right? But what can, yeah. So they had to carve. So when they said that they were going to start up again, that one site that was saved, they had to create a peninsula at the entrance to save that one site. Now I don't know if it's still there, but that's something you should follow up on.
Is that the Pauhaku?
homework.
Where the Pauhaku, where the cave it's covering right there? They have some
it was an upright stone, and then you could see.
It's right at the beginning of One'ula.
Yeah, it's right in where the entrance to the harbor. But that's where you guys got to do research, yeah.
Right.
Now, so they had caved in, and they decided to redesign the harbor, so the entrance was compromised, yeah. Because of that one site. Okay, so you want to find your one site in here, yeah? Okay? And do education and do protocol, because that's, that's due diligence for our ancestors and our ancients that we, And then, so, they went ahead and dug. We came in and did protocols and what have you, and a book came out of that. We had learned a lot more about the history of the area, and we always made the claim that there's must be lots of burials in this area where you're going to dig, and they kept insisting that there were no burials anywhere, yeah, No berries. And that's, you know, it was hard to believe.
Yes.
And but anyway, a few years later, we get a call from Kai Markel, and he said, hey, we found the burial came up, yeah? People who were living on the beach found a burial, and I think it was like Mauka of the entrance to the harbor, and it was an ali'i burial with a woman with Niho Palawa, yeah? And so you guys got to look that up.
She had one in each.
Yeah, she had one in, so you're familiar with that?
Yes, the
Yeah.
we shared the story
Yeah. Oh, so a lot of history came up, started to come up about who that was. And that'll help you understand more about whatever this area was about. Who was that ali'i? Why was she buried here? And that's you know, additional evidence and testimony of the importance of this area, yeah? And, you know, was she an isolated burial, or are there other burials, or was this a special place to bury ali'i, yeah? And so there's a lot of research that came up. When they went and started the digging, they busted the cap rock, and so there's water flowing out. So you want to find out what's happened with that, and you want to monitor that, yeah? So sometimes, you know, we get involved in an issue and, we get beat up, we get worn out, and, you know, we got to hold maha for a while, but we got to stay with it. You know, we got to watch and monitor, yeah? But so this whole area, you know, is really one area, yeah? But we've divided it up, right? And we have different families that jump in, and different generations too, yeah? So this is a big project. You know, we know there's going to be a lot more development, yeah, and yeah. So a lot of homework, and research, and I'm glad you're bringing people to the site so that they can become more familiar and develop a relationship with this place. And a lot of pulia is good, and you know, so now. Now we have, you know, people that are a part of this project that some of us are related to, yeah? So even more now, we have to be very, you know, and find ways to really do good education, yeah? And I know there's some good material, research that's out there now. We've had several years, maybe 10, 15 years since Onehula, when you know, a lot of translations of documents and newspaper reports in the old days are coming out, yeah? You know what I'm talking about. A lot more material, and so, you know, I just think that...
Did you know Uncle Henry Changwu?
Yeah, is that the limu guy? Yeah. Back in those days.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Mahalo for that response. As an expert in your gift from God, chosen and ordained, do you believe it's acceptable morally to remove graves for commercial profit? I don't know why I'm reading it because I know it, but wanted it to be pono to what we're asking. But in your expertise, are there alternatives? If you agree or don't agree, what are the alternatives for commercial, given the context of our occupation here, right? It seems that the space in the direction of our state, there's a lot of commercial development. And we know our people put our kupuna in the aina in which they live. Therefore, as commercial development continues to occur as a declared and defined means of profit that is necessary for the economy, as a kahu, is there an alternative for EVs? Is it okay? Is it morally right in the consecration of your work? Is there an alternative for this? Or how do you know, it's the people say it's a balance between sustainability for the economy to be then provide for the people. We have to create commercial contracts. We need to create commercial development. If we don't, there's no money to take care of us. So with that understanding, based on the construct that's occurring here in the Pai'aina, if they're saying development is going to occur regardless, what is the context of your spiritual aspect and input
when we take out iwi out of the ground.
Yeah, so again, we go back to the laws. Yeah. So the laws, there's a lot of guidance on what to do with iwi kupuna when you have inadvertent discoveries, or when you know that there are burials there, and is it okay to come up with a project where those burials are going to be removed? Yeah. So there are a lot of laws, and one of the important aspects of the laws is that the government doesn't decide that, but the descendants, the cultural and lineal descendants, make all decisions related to iwi kupuna that are determined to be historic in nature. Yeah, and even that, there's a definition for that, and I wish I could have memorized that. But whenever there's a discovery of historic human remains in Hawaii, and there's some pretty good guidelines for that, which has been created by Hawaiians, but those guidelines and laws have to be revisited every year. Yeah.
Uncle.
Yeah, and but anyway, so let me give you some examples. Yeah, burials many times will be relocated. Yeah, if they're found. Yeah, and many times the families and lineal and cultural descendants will agree to that. Yeah, because they can't imagine of a family of Hawaiians that are discovered under the concrete slab in the Cocoa Palms Hotel, leaving in the kitchen, leaving them under the kitchen, so they'll relocate them. So when I first was a kahu beginning on Kauai, there was a family in the kitchen, so they wanted me to come and pull it, so I pull it. And the protocol, I was young Hawaiian in those days, no laws in those days. So they decided they were going to move that family into the garden behind the cocoa palms and kanu, the iwi in the garden, and make pohaku on top, and so that's been done in Waikiki as well. You have many iwi kupuna. When Waikiki was born, a lot of history of burials being found when they built hotels or roadways. And so many hotels have relocated burials on the property somewhere, and those are supposed to be documented now. And so now, if a burial is found in the Sheraton Kaiulani Hotel, burial council, is triggered, and lineal descendants are. There's an announcement made in the newspapers, and people come in and have to decide what to do with those burials. I was called. I get called every so often to help stop a project when iwi are born, because contractors in the old days, even though there were laws, they would not stop. Yeah, it's very costly. Walmart Keomoku was one case. 60 burials were discovered. They were left in the trench, and it was raining, and so we had to, I was called, and so I, called some of the officials involved, and brought in some of the Hawaiians, and so a lot of times it happens like that, yeah. And because the trenches were filling up with water, the bones were in the trenches. It was decided that they should be taken out and placed in a trailer, yeah. But there were still a lot of problems with having the burials in the trailer. The rail project has a standing policy now that all burials found in the guideway, on the guideway, the roadway, would be left in the roadway, yeah. But other Hawaiians really wanted to relocate iwi that were born and create a mausoleum somewhere in Kaka'ako, yeah. So those are the ways in which Hawaiians are trying to address burials iwi kupuna, yeah. And here's another example. On Kalakaua, one year they were replacing all the water lines in the roadway, and they kept finding burials as when they were going alongside of the water lines, old water lines. So in the walls of the trenches that they were digging, there were burials, right? And it got to be about 50 burials were found. And so finally, again, we stopped we stopped the project. So Hawaiians have to really come to the forefront and ask the government that this is not right, stop the project. And those burials, so they had to stop the project. There was a 24-hour prayer vigil on the beach at Waikiki with the mayor and the Board of Water Supply. And those are the kind of processes that, community needs to envision and not be shy about getting involved and holding agencies and people accountable, government accountable for the things that are not right. Those burials, families came in and those decided that we're going to move all those burials, and those burials were buried at the corner of Kalaeloa in Kapahulu, right in front of the zoo. There's a mausoleum there. And so the families decided to build that, and then they brought back a lot of burials that were being stored at Bishop Museum. And there's still a lot of burials stored in Bishop Museum that have been removed from the old days, But anyway, that's a long answer to.
Oh, thank you. But and I think for Kia'i EV like myself, so I think every Kia'i EV is different, but for us, we're about preserving place. And for us, that's the most pono. Because any kind of uncovering of the EV is desecration. And you want to say something?
Yeah, so, since Israel and Gaza is in the news and we're all calling for a ceasefire and humanitarian aid in Gaza, in Israel, many years ago, we learned that whenever because that's an old place, but they're always finding burials in the roads, and they have a protocol. As soon as they find that burial, boom, they put it down deeper, and they protect it, and they cover the road, and boom, the traffic's running again.
Yeah, and I know the Israelis the Zionists are digging up the Palestinian graves.
Oh no!
And that's a way of erasure.
Right.
So removing graves, especially from the place where they were originally put, is a way of them to erase us from the land. So that is always a hotly contested issue, but I think for a lot of us today, we're done. Like, we just want them to stay where they are. And but thank you, Kahu, for your mana'o on that. And for the, I guess, closing, mana'o would be, because lunch just arrived, so we're like, you can bless our food, and then we go everybody go eat, and then, we'll make the wave pool the last question, but so I guess we maybe two questions, right? So my question is, like, what would you suggest for us to do moving forward regarding this project that's being proposed here, where there are at least one EV mound here, but there's probably
known.
more. That's known.
There's one known, but there may be more, because we know we're right next to, a very ancient village system, possibly one of the first that is on Oahu, that they came here from Tahiti. So one of our last questions to our interviewees is, what are your thoughts on this wave pool from the context of your expertise and the impact to this specific moku should it continue forward?
Yeah. So two questions, like, what is what's your advice to us, and then, like, what is your mana'o on this wave pool project?
What was the first question again?
Advice.
On what?
On what you think.
Oh, okay.
Maybe some advice on what you think we should do.
I think always we have to do good work, research, and we got to match the systems that are coming at us from foreign interests and development interests, and people are always trying to do things, and But the Kanaka got to take the lead, in determining land use and cultural facts. And so the wave pool. I'm not sure. I think part of this is about tourism. Part about this is about foreign interests. But we have Hawaiians involved in this, and I want to respect the Hawaiians that are involved in this and encourage everybody to do good. To do good research on what's really being done here. Yeah, the impact to the land, I think, is a concern. I know that the developers and people involved in that are doing the best they can to understand the impacts and to mitigate the impacts. And on the side of the community, you want to look to see if the laws are adequate. Yeah, because they may not be as strong as they should be. And so that's a disadvantage, and so you have to find a ways to address that. The laws that may not be as strong as they should, because in the end, this it gets reviewed in the political process. Yeah, so you have to match that intellectual approach and come up with better science and better results, and you just have to really. Step it up, and that's going to be good for generations down the road. Yeah, whatever you discover, and but the wave pool is tough. Yeah, you got a lot of people that surf, and a lot of people that want to. Yeah. So okay, but anyway, here you go.
Aloha. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, hey guys, how's it going? Turn around, get your picture taken right there.
We on video.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
no worries.
Okay.
It's all informal. It's all informal. Mahalo. Ever resident here, support of what we're doing here. So, thank you so much for that one out. And I know you're in a hard place because the Keolanas are right down the road from where you live.
No. So actually, I just want to say, Brian Keolana, I know is associated with this project. Well, Brian's a good friend. He's my next door neighbor. Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
So I know Brian a long time. He grew up. I'm older than Brian, but my brothers are really close to him, and have been involved with Brian and the jet ski developments. And Brian has risked his life for many people on the Waianae coast in the ocean, and he's a good guy. And I'm going to pray for him. I'm going to pray for you folks too, that we come to some good understanding about what needs to happen here. But the environmental, I think the environmental impact here might be really, really important to look at. And I think there's going to be impact. I think the development of this area. The wave pool may not be the most culturally appropriate way to develop this area, but we need to work together and try to resolve whatever the issues are. And I'm going to be praying for everybody.
Thank you, Kahu. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here and sharing your mana'o and experience about your struggles, trying to protect what was left of the standing coral shrines in One'ula, and the struggle continues, and we are blessed to have kupuna like you around still to help guide us and provide us good insight. You have any closing thoughts?
I just want to mahalo you from your kupuna, from my kupuna to your kupuna, and the space that you hold for our people, to help to bring the middle ground, but also to remember the sacred sanctity of iwi, because above all commercial profit in this litigation, we believe that it's a no-go. But you bring that space of maybe humility, ha'aha'a, and just to ho'oponopono this process and to bring, fair and just understandings, right? We just want to be just. So mahalo so much for bringing your ike. Mahalo nui.
Did you have any thoughts?
Yes. No, and just mahalo nui for sharing, all the mo'olelo, all the ike of actually walking through this space, and just, again, just providing your ike. So mahalo nui.
Yes. Mahalo.
Kuleana, all of us.
Yeah. Yes. Wahine, you want to say something as an opio?
Here, Wahine.
Oh, mahalo. Opio, checking in. Actually, Uncle, I would love to know what is the name of the book again and what is the author, because I think that is very vital to a lot of us who are out here doing kia'i work in the Ewa area and for future generations. So can we get that on the record? Nice and clear.
I don't know. It might be just Jan Beckett. I think his name is Jan Beckett.
Okay.
And but
I'm gonna go look it
photographer for Kamehameha schools back in those days.
Jan Beckett.
Jan Beckett. Jan. I think it's IAN. Jan Beckett.
Oh, Jan. Okay.
And who would know about that? Yeah.
Fishing villages of Oneula.
Yeah, fishing villages.
Shrines of Oneula.
Yeah. I'll do some. I'll see if I can find that. And then,
Thank you.
But I would check in with the border. I would check in with the Army Corps of Engineers.
Okay.
Because I remember a couple of years ago, they called me in to say a little bit of, because they were trying to educate people on what happened, right? But go visit the Army Corps of Engineers, ask them about that project, and if you can get copies of the material.
Are they located in a specific place on island? Their office or?
I don't know. I think we'll have to just we'll follow up on that. Yeah.
You need to know where they are.
Okay, so
they're the ones that are managing the water resources. Right?
Awesome. So we're gonna end this live and pule for the mea'ai and serve lunch now. Yep. So we will be doing our PFAS test next. So we will be filming that live as well here. So we'll be doing water tests and there's more to come. So stay tuned. Aloha. Mahalo.
Aloha. We're here at Coral Sea Road, and we have some guests that would like to share with you all. We're still here holding space, holding it down. Nakia'i o Waiha today. If you haven't seen all of our posts today, please check out Kalaeloa Hawaii.
I don't give you my. Keep going.
You can check out Kalaeloa Hawaii's page. Also Nakia'i o Waiha for updates. And we're gonna start this afternoon. We're still here. I believe it's our third live of the day. Interviews. To get the take on our community members. So here we have today, introduce yourself.
Hello, my kako o Honokea Wave Pool. The reason I came here, I came to kako cousin them for Nakia'i o Waiha. I think my connection is probably through the Land Commission Award. I'm not a director, but they are. I'm a lateral representative of Kekano. So that's why I'm here to call cousin.
Mahalo. Tell us who you are and your connection to this kahea.
O kele ko'u inoa, Akana, and I was born and raised in Onelua, actually Bush, and I live in this area again now, and so family brought us to this discussion, and so that's how we made it. We're happy to be here.
Aloha everyone, Joe Akana here. I'm actually here because I'm supporting the folks here, but I think it's a connection for all of us to have with regards to the water. If water is truly our life, and it is, then we should all be connected with that water, and that's why we're here.
Hello, my kako. Ova o nani. O ka oia I o noe anai mai au. Ai a ole vau he kupa no ke ia aina aka ma o ka ke kahea o ke kokua o ke kupa a ana e ia no vau. Ai no ka malama ana I ka aina, no ka malama ana I ka iwi o ia aina, no ka malama ana I ka vai o ia aina o ka aina holoko'a o kako. No laila o ia no noho vau ma wai anai I ki ia manawa o ke ia ko'u aina ke kahi. Ai, no laila kia I vau, ke la me ke ia wahipana, no ka pono o kako, ka Hawaii, a me ka mea nā kanaka a ole paha Hawaii no hoi. A ka nui ke aloha no ke aloha o ke ia aina. Pono kako e malama a kiai mau a mau. Ai.
Thank you, mahalo, mahalo. So heartfelt to hear people coming out for the kahea that has been placed upon everyone's hearts right now. There's a lot of sentiment regarding this development, and we're so honored to have these special guests as we have throughout the day, just to share a little bit what's on their hearts in regards to this wave pool. We would love to hear, what are your thoughts about the development of this third wave pool? And please share with the utmost aloha your dearest sentiment regarding the impact that it could possibly make for you, your ohana, or your community. Your thoughts on the wave pool and how it will affect you, your family, and your community.
I think it's really offensive that they even have. They shouldn't even have built one. I mean, it's just a waste of water. When our people could be using that water to grow food. Unfortunately, millions of gallons for pools and using our water as a commodity, that's not what our vai is made for. The vai belongs to the people, right? So to the mahiai, so the farmers, so we can grow food to sustain ourselves. The whole point is sustainability. Right now, if the ships stop coming in, we're screwed. So we have to start planting and to protect our iwi and protect our aina and protect our vai, protect our mauna. Whatever we gotta protect, we're gonna protect.
Mahalo. So beautifully well said. Let's share it with the rest of our panel. What are your thoughts on this development wave pool as the third one within the Ewa Moku? How will it impact you, your ohana, and your community?
So just looking at the second wave pool and how it's already impacted the community, it's already been negative. After reading the guidelines that was given to me by Joe here earlier about these injection wells and things of that nature, it just seems like a repeat of history again and again. I think it's very disrespectful, and I also think that people need to start thinking about really what they have to already start allowing for this thing to say, hey, you know what, whatever these guys have been doing has not been working. We have other people who have things that can work, and things work sometimes without other people navigating all of the information and the businesses because of it. So I think it's going to be even worse. There has to be a way to stop it. This is the second time that we came over here with the family, and this is the way I look at it, coming home and not really being in the movement all my life, is think about if you have family here and their bones are in the memorials, you get families buried somewhere and they just rip them out and they just throw them everywhere. And you cannot think that there's going to be good energy from that. Like, there's not good mana and power that comes from that. And it's just to continue to desecrate while speaking tongues and sweet languages like you're helping is just really wasting a lot of people's time, and it's going to create a very short-term big impact when, like what Kahaka was saying, no more food coming in. No more, you don't have the capability because you're not connected to your families to go get water from the aina. So you have to start thinking about when the ships don't come in, and the people have to start acting like they're not going to come in and start connecting with their families to make sure we have food and water and safety and houses and things like that for each of us. That's what should be over here, not, sorry, but foreigners from other places who, because they think they have money, they can buy up all the aina, and they think that they can sell out what doesn't belong to them. And I think that's very wrong. I think it's not pono, and I think it needs to be stopped immediately.
Wow. So a lot to unpack in that. The impact of what is happening out here in Ewa. Let's think about this for a minute. This is the third wave pool. What is the impact on our aina? Right? We already know what's happening, but when you take water away and we already have a water shortage, And now you're going to take more water away to fill in more water pool, wave pool. What does that mean for all of us? We already have a lot of development going out here in the Ewa community. Building houses, building more homes, more homes, more homes. Now you're going to take the water. So where are we going to take the water away from? Ka'ala? Where are we going to take the water away from? Up in Wahiwa? Where are we going to take the water away from so that you can have water over here in the pool? Oh wait, we're going to take them from the underground water system that we get in the area. What does that mean? When you take that water away, I want you guys to think of Lahaina. There's exactly the same thing that happened in Lahaina. They had underground water systems. Lahaina used to be flush with green. Today you look at it, it's very brown because you divert their water away. You take away the underground water system. When you take away the underground water system, the trees no more way for root. They have no place to grow from. What is the impact does that mean? If we don't have any more trees, we don't have no more oxygen. If we don't have any more oxygen means we don't have no more limu growing. We don't have anything growing, right? Because stuff starts to die. So what is the impact? Is that we're going to see it very real right here because no more water. If water, like I said earlier, water is life and we're not taking care of that water, we're not taking care of it, then what does that mean? We're not going to be living either, right? Now, she's mentioned something about the aina and the burial places. We have oiwi. We found some this morning, this afternoon. More oiwi right back behind us. Let's think about this for a minute. How would you feel if Punch Bowl Cemetery became a wave pool? They take all of the bones, all the iwi out of there, say, oh, we're going to make them into a wave pool because we can. How would you feel? How about some of the downtown cemeteries? We're going to turn them into wave pools just because we can. Does that mean you should? No, but because you can, we go do it. How would you feel about your OEV being desecrated? How would you feel about your family being lost? Because when the OEV is lost, when the OEV is gone, your family is lost. Your ancestors are lost. What does that mean for you now? You no more place to go. They no more place to go. Just think about that for a little while. I'm sure we get more questions. We're going to get more deeper into this. But just think about that for a little bit. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Mahalo. Oh, how does this impact me? So I think first and foremost about what the situation is still going on with Kapukaki, first and foremost. And I'm reminded that there were a lot of people that said, oh, I don't live in that area, so it doesn't affect me at all. Sorry, that's bull. It affects us regardless. Yeah, and so like I said in my ho'olauna, I'm not from this place specifically. I know bits and pieces of mo'olelo of this place. I'm trying to learn more so I can understand what this place was and what this place still can be. Yeah, but and so I mentioned earlier that although I'm from Wai'anae, every single part of this mokupuni has an effect on me, and it is my kuleana, as well as every Kanaka Mauli's kuleana to Malama, regardless of where it is, where we are standing to Malama. I'm an Olelo Hawaii teacher, and so yeah, this drastically affects me and my students and the future of our generation. This wave pool being built is being built on aina that we still learning about. And if you build on here, how the stories that our students and our future generation are going to build, how are they going to build relationship with the stories if they cannot see the places and spaces that we're talking about? Yeah, and that goes for every single place that's being built upon, a sacred place that's being built upon on our islands. One was enough. 2 is too much. 3 is just bullshit. Kalamai, there is no need for another wave pool, especially in this moku. Thinking about the desecration that would cause to our marine life, to our ecosystem, our hydrological system, the EV of this aina. Yeah. We in this dire strait right now because we don't know how to take care of our EVs anymore, right? And we need to return to that. malama i ka iwi. Yeah, and then we know how to malama the aina. And when we do that, then we know how to malama ourselves and our future generation. So I am so against this third wave pool. We live on an island. There is no reason why we have to pay money for going surf when we get this beautiful ocean surrounding us. It's just a waste of money. It's a waste of land, and a waste of just life in general. Waste of life in general. So I don't kako'o this one bit at all. Kalamai, I love the Keolanas. I love what they do for my moku. But I pai ya oko. Yeah, I encourage you guys to actually learn a little bit more about this moku through our olelo. Olelo brings life to all of our spaces and places. And the only way we learn that is when we start to speak it. And so I encourage you, Brian, to get to know your olelo, because I know you said that you never know. I am here to teach you. You can come and join me, but through that language, you can understand and see a different perspective of how we connect, how we as Kanaka Maoli connect to the Aina. And so, Kalamai.
You go.
Okay, mahalo for that beautiful input. It seems to be there's a consensus, Kalamai, with our interviewees today, their deep, heartfelt sentiment about their connection to this moku. And with that being said, I would like to ask each and every one of you, what are some ideas? You know, a lot of the people, I cannot even think of one person who came by and said they're in agreement for this development. We're in the second day. I have not heard one person. We've even gone to the restroom down the road and somebody was like, hey, yeah, does you guys down the road? You know what? Can I just tell you guys, I'm not for it. And I'm not for it. We get the most beautiful oceans out here. Why? I don't understand. So the sentiment thus far has been so encouraging for what we're doing, because again, I have not seen one person who have said, I'm for it, because of the impact that it's going to create for themselves, their keiki, and their community. And so with that, your next question for each of you is, can you share with those who are listening some ideas that could make better use of this aina? Each of you come from a different aspect of a protector, kia'i. All of you serve within your communities as leaders in the capacity that you're being called. And with that kuleana that you have chosen to awamo, I would like you to share, if you can, some ideas that could help foster better resolution to this aina. Because maybe people need that creative insight from the people from within our community and throughout the Pai Aina. And those of you who are watching, we encourage you to drop your sentiments as well as ideas of better use for this aina instead of a wave pool, because maybe that's what needs to be encouraged. And we would like to hear what our community members have to say about a better idea for use of this area.
Plant food. I mean, come on, it's a no-brainer. We have to put food in the ground. I mean, we're like way behind. We needed food in the ground like yesterday. I mean, it's very important and imperative, but I don't think anybody sees the severity situation that we're in, because the shipping containers that come in, we're messed up. So definitely food. Restore the water. My recommendation is shut down these 2 wave pools that doesn't even make sense to exist. Shut them down. Restore the water back to the people, to the mahiai, to the farmers, so the Kanaka can grow food or grow our medicine. We need land and water. They go hand in hand. You can't just give us land and then no more water. So it goes back to Konahiki, right? So you look on your royal patent, if a kupuna was in Konahiki, they was in charge of the water. Then that's your ohana, step forward. That's why you're here. Ke Kawanohi, yeah, ohana. LCA 11216, yeah, if you want Ke Kawanohi, halamai, kako, cousins.
Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo. What's your insight of a better solution, idea, to spark creative flow for those who are in charge, who are facilitating this land use and permitting? What are some better use ideas coming directly from people within our community?
So first and foremost, we got to get rid of the state. It's an unlawful human trafficking operation, period, end of discussion. We are the lawfuls of the land. We have to work together. That's what I've heard since I've been home. And thank God I'm in seats with these people here because they are making a difference. It's really hard for people to look beyond the work that needs to be done. And so I think that we need to gamify things to get people out so that it's not like so rigid and only like if we rewarded people for planting instead of just acting, like, because we have to bring people off the fiat currency money system. We have to bring them off you working as an employee for one corporation, but you could be working and spending the same amount of time as yourself inside, like what Kahaka's talking about. Maybe you out at the fish farm, maybe you planting more seaweed, right? Maybe you over here, you're looking at the water table now. Maybe you're a part of the journey. And I think what I have witnessed from when I came home is that the Kanaka, the mighty, those strong, the censorship of the people who control the fiat money systems and all the systems, they shut you down. They shut me down. That's the one thing I have in common. When the information cannot be shared, nobody can hear you, right? And you praying and hoping that other people hearing you, and they do because you're putting the energy out there. But making things fun and rewarding and educational, those things can be done even right from home. You don't have to be going and doing it from one school anymore. But we can make these places like schools, right? And everybody who came out here today, if they was recording, they would have evidence. And so we have to look at it as we are the evidence that we have to put out. And Queen Leokalani never have one cell phone. She never have internet. They never even have fax machines. They have to use ships. But now we get our own technologies and we can introduce, adopt. And definitely you need to farm because when the ships don't come in, those who aren't farming and those who aren't preparing, is really going to be hard to put you first at the front of the line when only get one limited amount of supply at a time. So those are just some ideas. And Joe?
Thank you. Thank you for those great ideas.
A lot of great information there. So let's think about what it is that we can be doing. If we are totally relying on the state to provide everything for us or on the federal government to provide things for us, we're relying on the wrong source, right? We're forgetting about the power of the people right here, sitting right here, the power within our own communities. If you're looking for ideas as to what we can do, let's just look back at our own history in our own lands and what the people would do. What would the protectors of a particular area, what would they do? They would have to protect the ocean, you gotta protect the mountain, and you gotta protect everything in between, especially if that's in your ahupua'a. Right? You have to take care of those things. If we're not taking care of the ocean, let's just think about this now. Yeah? The water run out to the ocean, we're not taking care of the ocean because we took the water away. That means the limu not gonna grow, right? Because it needs that kind of that consistency between the ocean and the land water. It needs that brine mesh there for the limu to grow. If the limu don't grow, then what? The small fish don't eat. Right. The small fish don't eat, the big fish don't eat. Right. The big fish don't eat, the turtles don't eat. We don't eat. Nothing happens because we're not eating off of the ocean. We're only then surviving off of the land. So if we were to look at where that came from and where we're going to go to, we're going to need to look right there. We start right there. Okay? Protecting our grounds, protecting our land. That's the first thing I think we got to do is protect these areas, especially this site, so that we're not destroying, creating more problems, losing more water. Think about it. We got more development going on right now in this area alone. Think about it. Why? Where all that water coming from? But if you're going to put one wave pool in here, we're going to need more water, because we're building more houses, so we're going to need more water. And then pretty soon, no more water for us.
Do you think we could run out of water?
Is a possibility. Do I think we could run out of water? Oh boy. Okay, yes, we could, but here's the difference: is there are always alternatives. There's always technologies. Kalae mentioned that a minute ago, that we could be using to increase the water. Right? We can do a lot of things for drinking water and stuff. There's technologies available, whether it be desalination type plants, water atmospheric generators. There's a lot of different things that we could be using in the area, but that's not going to replace what we need or what the water we have underground. That's going to be good for us for drink, right? But not going to be good for the land to drink, not going to be good for the ocean to drink, right? And that's what we really got to be looking at. So the ideas, hold on one second. The ideas would basically be using the technologies that we have available to us to increase our productivity on this land. Yeah. And I'm gonna turn that over to you. And
Mahalo. Okay. So I kind of thought about this, and like I said, I'm not really familiar with this aina to kind of gauge what would benefit the people of this community. However, I'm really keen about taking care of our people on the coastline. And it's super important, like all of us has said, we seek food sovereignty as a very high priority well, it should be a high priority in our lives. And so what better way than to kill two birds with one stone, make this place some sort of community-based planting mala garden where we can actually give purpose back to our people that are on the coastline. That, and then I know there's some burial. I was just looking at the map behind here to see where the archaeological sites are at, and I see that there are a few within the boundaries of this project, and we need to make sure that we protect that. So like having a Hawaiian Cultural Center here, to teach our people, how to grow limu again, how to malama the aina again, how to take care of our iwis that are buried here all over again, just like I said, we forgot how to do that, Heli ika aina he kawa ke kanaka. Right? The land is chief, we are but its servants, and we need to return back to serve our aina that flourishes us continuously if we take care of her. Right? And once we stop, and a lot of us has stopped and forgotten, that's why it's the way that it is, and that's why people are so quick to build upon our kupuna, right? Behind closed doors even, and so that's just a couple of ideas that's been like festering in my mind, not just for this moku, but for all over. We need community restoration through and through.
Mahalo. I never got to share live or in any capacity. For myself, I would like to chime into this response. And as a kumu myself in science, I'm a ed teacher, but my specialty is science. I began writing a grant 3 years ago for a remediation project on our aina that we won in Maui in 2019, one of Hawaii's longest unadjudicated cases. And part of the idea came from kupuna that our people need healing. And when you heal the people, you bring back life force to them, but it takes them being on the aina. And so when you put the people on the aina, not in a high rise, they have to be connected because Mother Earth is a positive energy force. And I'm just going to share a little bit about energy. We pick up negative energies, whether it be by the foods we ingest, the toxins in the air, engagements with people verbally. We pick up negative energy. Mother Earth is a positive energy. And so when you place your feet upon the lepo, you place your feet upon the soil, positive and negative attract. she actually will remove negative energy through your feet or by sitting with her, hugging a tree, just being present in the aina or in the mala, in the lo'i, at the ocean. There's a natural response that happens within your energetic field, and that is the releasing of negative energies because of the positive and negative connection. And so when we understand that our people have been born in a war, they've been raised in a war, and we are growing in this war that we were desensitized to recognize, the healing is the most pivotal part in strengthening the mind to work in harmony, body, mind, and spirit. And so I believe our people could benefit from a reforestation, a remediation of the aina. We have 6 generations that have compounded generational trauma within their kino, within their energetic field, and within the aina. And all of that needs healing. And it cannot occur if we're continued to be separated from the life force which heals us, which is Papahanaumoku. And so, for me, a wave pool does nothing for the healing of our people. I'm going to say this, people's name does not bring mana to the healing of our people. It is the hana that they give back to allow, to facilitate for healing to occur. Our people have been suffering. We don't see it because we are taught, single person born on this pai'aina and of the koko, either or. If you're born here, not of the koko, you're impacted by the trauma of generational trauma. And of the koko, now you inheriting all of this. And the aina has trauma, the wars, the desecration, it's compounded. So for me, it would be beautiful to see keikis come here and to kanu their mana, specifically the keiki from this ahupua'a, because it is the reciprocation of that mana that builds within that harmonious balance from, like Nani had just shared. It's pivotal. It's pivotal for the healing. You have to have the people from the ahupua'a come, return their mana because it's reciprocated, vice versa. Mother Earth gonna release, take away the negative, and then you give love back because now you feel better. That's the reciprocation of healing. And we can do that through the acts of, we don't always have to take, right? We don't always have to come somewhere and take. It's the exchange of gratitude. I love Papahanaumoku, so I'm gonna pick up rubbish wherever I go. Teach my kids, pick up rubbish. This place can benefit for a healing center for the next generation to come heal their mind by putting kanu mana energy, release what is toxic, leave feeling good. And our kids from schools, from the community can come here and rebuild a communal place to partake and grow food, and also remediate the aina. There's so much we can do to heal. When you heal the aina, you're healing yourself in the process. And for me, that's way better use than a wave pool, because a wave pool is all commerce, it's all contracts, it's all currency that is not even real. And so we're chasing this ideology of how do we feel comfortable in this timeline right now in the existence of all people in the world. Is we feel like we need money to be comfortable, and it's not money. It's not money. The eha that we feel, the desire that we chase, comes from that attachment to money, that I need more to feel better, to make sure I get food, to pay the bills, to put gas, to go work. We're chasing something that is not created for us. A wave pool is not created for our success. Only certain people are going to profit and benefit from that. And regardless of your name and regardless of your iconic status, anybody, and I'm not just referring to this development, anybody throughout the Pai'aina, we need to think about healing our people, because when you heal one generation, you're actually healing all generations, because time is not linear, it's actually overlapping. Past, present, and future exist within the same continuum. And as you heal yourself, you're actually healing your parents and your grandparents and your children. So your healing in itself heals backwards. And when it heals backwards to your kupuna, that energy mana comes right back to you, and then it transcends to your keiki. And so for me, seeing Keiki over here, remembering what it means to be Kanaka, to love the Aina, is to heal our kupuna and to heal Papahana Moku. So that was my little interview, precursor interview, because I think we're doing Us Guys tomorrow. So, okay. Evie, question. Very sensitive topic. We've asked every person who has been here today, and those who are, mahalo to those who have opted to take the question by email. We will be sharing your responses on our page, Nakia I o Waiha. We will have who we interviewed and their response. So please tune in for those, because there's a lot of different aspects of people in service in our community, and we will be sharing their responses as well. So we asked everybody that came today, there is Evie on this Aina. The burial council was made known, as well as the developer. The developer was there. The burial council was put on notice that ohana from this pai'aina, this wahipana, was not okay. And that was the main sentiment at that council meeting, is that nobody wants the Iwi to be disinterred. So to our panel of interviewees today, I want to make sure I have this correct. Do you believe it's acceptable morally to remove graves for commercial profit? As such, the case with this wave pool. The understanding is this project is still moving forward, I believe, and the EV is a concern. So is it morally responsible or even acceptable to disinter for commercial profit?
No, that's highly disrespectful to our kupuna.
And why?
Well, first of all, it's a huge kuleana to take on to protect kupuna iwi. I mean, it's a lifelong thing, to commit. I forgot what I was saying now.
Is it okay to take out EV for commercial profit?
Oh no, EV is supposed to remain where they are. Okay, the whole point is that they had a lot of mana. That's why they tried to hide it. So they're not supposed to be, uncovered and moved. There's EV there and there's EV. No, I mean you can't even build around it or near it. There's EV. You cannot, and it's no, absolutely not.
Not an option.
No.
Mahalo.
Sorry, I'm gonna cut to me because I gotta go. But that is a big no, an absolute no. No to removing any EV from their place of resting. Yeah, and it's hard for people that are not of Hawaii to really understand that. Yeah, our kupunas are sacred to us. Their bones are even more sacred to us, because when their bones are buried, the nutrients that come from their bones goes into the ground and into the plants that we plant, and then it comes into us from when we eat the plants. And it's a continuous reciprocating movement of life. Yeah, and not everybody understands that. And so it's super important for people who are not from here to understand that deepness, that richness, that manafulness of our connection to our kupuna, our relationship to our kupuna. They belong where they're at. They don't belong dug up. If I were to come to your hale and dig up your grandparents, how would you feel about that? That is not pono. No matter where you live, that's not pono. And so think about that, because if I had money, I came to you and just dug up your freaking ground. Really, what would you do? How would you feel? You need to know how we feel. You need to understand that. And the only way you're going to understand that is come talk to us. Come realize what our truth is, what our reasons are, what our EV bones could actually provide for all of us. Not just for me, not just for us individually, but for kako. Yes. Kako. And so no, they should not be removed ever, ever, ever. Oyo valeno.
Kiko Pau.
Kiko Pau.
Wow. Pretty deep, yeah. So my sentiment, my feeling is, again, is no. Should never be disturbed. I kind of touched on some things earlier. Sister touched on, Nani touched on some things. Again, if it was your grandparents, how you feel? How would you feel about them being dug up and moved someplace else? Yeah, they're in the ground for a specific reason. How are you gonna feel that way? If it was Punch Bowl Cemetery, you're gonna dig them all up, move them somewhere else because, do we just feel like moving them around, right? If it was the Arlington Cemetery, what about that in DC? What if we just come through, destroy that whole thing, dig them up, and build new buildings over there just because we can, right? Or if it's any other cemetery anywhere, you're gonna go just destroy everybody in there, move them, take them away, and move them someplace else just because we want to put in a wave pool. Yeah, or any other development, not necessarily even a wave pool, but any other development. But you want to take out that person that was there, that was buried, that's connected to that ground. You're going to take them away, and you're going to do what? We're going to move them someplace else. But they're not from there. They're not from someplace else. They're from here. Why are you going to take them out from here and move them someplace else? That's not their home. Their home is over here. Yeah, you got to think about that. And Sister Nani was talking about, very real, right? Very true. What Trina was talking about, right? You got to be aware of these things. You got to be aware of our who we are touching in our ground that we are talking and walking and living on. Who are we talking with when we do that, right? Just think about that, guys. Think about that.
Mahalo. Need the question?
What's the question? Same question.
Same question.
So,
Evie, is it morally acceptable for commercial profit?
Big no. Everything here is immoral. You have the state, a provisional government, a de facto non-duly voted in weaponized force that has been here since 1893, and even before that they had their eyes set on the prize. They've been desecrating other places where there's EV at anyways. And so to me, the real question is how long are you going to tolerate not being heard or coming out or being one sellout and going to go work a job for the people who are desecrating even you in your psyche, which is what we were talking about before. And when you actually start to put together the facts and findings and conclusions of law, and you genuinely understand and you genuinely want to comprehend it, there is a resounding no annexation document, which means everything that is happening, we shouldn't be crying anymore. We should be rising up super powerful, super strong, because they no more that. And if you Kanaka Maoli and your mom die and you think about somebody digging them up and throwing them someplace else and putting one profit center in, and you get zero of it, and then you gonna hum out the whole time. That's basically what they've been doing to me in my evaluation of coming home and reading for myself and having comprehension of the scenario. There is no way that money, especially fiat currency, going to one corporate entity, one corporate fiction, which is a war criminal, we should not be paying war criminals to get the job done or expect that they're going to get the job done, or that they care enough about us and your families, whether you a citizen here unlawfully or Kanaka here, or you think you Hawaiian here. These are the things, if we all came together to discuss, you would find out, wow, we all get the same enemy and it's not each other. So that's what I think about it.
Mahalo. Same consensus. Seems to be a sentiment that a lot of people share, and seems we're all on the same vibrational frequency that is being touched in their pu'uvai, and they're sharing through their leo. So mahalo you guys for sharing that. So we got two questions. One is we're going to talk about injection wells. Are you folks familiar with injection wells? Okay, so injection wells, I'm just going to share a little tidbit. It's the use of forced release wastewater into the Karst system out here in order to dispose of wastewater. So the wave pool has proposed in their environmental assessment they're attempting to use injection wells to facilitate wastewater disposal. And that would require dumping it into the Karst system. And the Karst system, as Joe had touched a little bit earlier, for those of you who are watching, our Karst system is very, very important to our Kanaka Maoli people. Not only was some of them used to house iwi, bones of our ancestors, but it also allowed for subsurface water, so underground water, to move from Mauka to Makai. And in that traverse of the water, it actually moved nutrient-dense matter for the limu and for that ecosystem that thrives from that nutrient-dense matter. So it's going to come through the Karst system, exit at the ocean side, and then allow our limu to feed off of it, because it will create brackish water, which helps the limu to thrive, including the nutrients that are coming down through the Karst system. But that creates nutrients for small fish species, the kala, because they eat limu kala, and then turtles eat limu, crustaceans eat limu, and it just creates this trickle effect where at the end of that is us. We eat from that. So now if the injection wells is using our Karst system to dispose of wastewater, that's going to impact the entire ecosystem all the way down to us. We've already lost half of our limu beds due to the water diversions that are happening within Ewa for the development. I think their population is at 50,000 plus of homes. And you can imagine, I don't even know how water pressure is maintained in the Ewa Moku with those many homes. Now, if we're going to dump wastewater into the Karst system, it's going to create a big detriment for everything that relies on that Mauka to Makai water. So what are your thoughts on their proposed use of injection wells? What are your thoughts? Do you think it's a great way to release wastewater? Should it not be considered? In general, what do you think about that? Because they can't have the wave pool because they don't have a way to dispose of water. And if that's their only way to dispose of water, I want to hear your folks' thoughts.
No. Plain no. You know, see again, the impacts, right? All the wastewater. And you're going to put it, no. You know, you can say, no, it's not an option. I mean, you're not going to force this on us, you know. You cannot, no, absolutely. Aole, pono ole.
Okay, mahalo.
So what I learned about being home is the state buys themselves time between the propaganda, the media, and the ability to fund projects, whether they're grants or military contracts or whatever the case. It's, from what I've observed, it's always we're trying to help. If you had your toilets overflowing in your household every day, that's what you should expect will come from this. If you want to go take a shower down at the community center, you should expect doo-doo water coming out. You should expect to drink that. If you go to the ocean, you should get mahauli rod. Okay, like this is common sense. Pollution in, pollution out. And so if they keep on putting up more houses and they're not even to the bungalows and they did 7 million gallon water pools and there's more than one pool, there was plural. Entertainment is all I see. Yeah, and destruction and damage. So by them going in and doing this, they're going to ruin the other coral tables that are still underneath here that they haven't destroyed yet between the military and the state. And we can come back over and we can go through and we can go fix it. But to trust people that have constantly been in perpetual genocide is ignorant. And it is not a way that you go and defend yourself when the time comes. And I think that the awakening is coming for all of us to recognize this and plan this year, because like Josh Green said, in 18 months from Lahaina, he gonna bring in the smart city. So if you gonna rely on smart dummy for teach you who get no heart, who willing to instill all this kind poho stuff over here, and like unity by being the only person that can keep committing war crimes, I challenge you to think a little bit differently, because there are people now that not gonna put up with it. because we get our own resources, we get our own funding. We don't rely on the federal fiat dollar or the system. So the question for everybody is, why are you? More better you come over here and talk to your family members and find out who your pili koko is. And then go learn this stuff. Because when I read this today, I was blown away. Because all it looks like is a toilet bowl. And we're a part of the being in the doo-doo. And you cannot wash off the shishi and the doo-doo. And that's how it's going to be. And then what? You're going to be crying later. Yeah, that's smart move is come out this year, come out now. Come learn about this. Ask yourself these questions and ask yourself how it's going to affect you if you the person that's not the billionaire. You the person that's not the millionaire. You the one going in and working one job for the people who killing you and the terrorism. That's the way I see it. So if you can just, I'll expect me to trust them. The answer is no for me because they're already proving. Since I've been home the last 5 years, that's all I see is desecration. It doesn't matter whether it's psychological. It doesn't matter whether it's environmental, the water table. We was just fighting with Red Hill, the military. It's an unlawful and an unend occupation. It needs to end. And we need to say no to federal dollars, fiat dollars, and no to any legalese. Because that's the language that keeps on pushing out the shit. Pardon my French, but for real.
So let's think about what an injection well is or what it is doing. And essentially it is pushing... Oh, hold on one second. It is pushing... They dig a big hole and you're pushing doo-doo, waste stuff down into this hole, right? Let's think about that for a minute. That's what you're doing. You're pushing it down here. But what's inside of this? You're pushing this down inside of the water table. If you're pushing it in the water table, what does that mean? It's eventually going to come out of the water table and going to come into where? Into your house. It's going to come into your home. Going to come into the sewer lines, the water lines. Going to come into your house. And you're going to wonder why you have a doo-doo smell in your house all the time. Because the water is coming in through the tables. Now, for the water supply going to say, oh no, we're going to clean all that up. We're going to do all this kind of stuff. We're going to put everything in here. But think about it for a minute. We said the same thing with Red Hill. Oh, we're not going to have to worry about fuels dropping down into the water table. Guess what? 70 years later, fuel is dropping into the water table. Was anybody aware of that? No. They're going to build this concrete liner around these injection wells and oh no, it's not going to ever go inside anywhere else. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys right now, that's bullshit, okay? It's going to go somewhere else. It's going to go into the water. It's going to go into the fresh water. It's going to go into the drinking water. And pretty soon it's going to go everywhere, right? And then when you're complaining about that because, oh, I live in town, I don't have to worry about what happening out here in Eva. I'm not going to worry about that. Well, we could have said the same thing in Eva when we said, oh, Red Hill, that's what's happening in town. We don't need to worry about that. But guess what? It comes over here too. Lahaina, oh, that's in Lahaina. We don't have to worry about what happened in Lahaina. We know what happened in Lahaina, right? The same thing is going to happen. To say we're going to line these injection wells and we are going to be safe for the next 50 years. I'm going to tell you guys, that's bullshit. That's lies. They lying to you. Whoever telling you that's not, they lying to you. Because that's what's going to happen. Somebody making money off of this. Somebody making money, okay? But it's not us. It's nobody over here. But it doesn't matter. That's not the point. Never mind about making the money. When you cannot drink water because the water is all pilau. Have fun with that one, right? Oh, but the water park was so important. The wave pool was so important. Right? It was so important, but today we're not drinking water. Our grandchildren not drinking water. We don't have no water to drink, but it was so important to put this wave pool in here. It's bad news, guys. Bad news.
Mahalo. Seems again, same sentiment. There seems to be a consensus. Again, question after question, everyone seems to share the same understanding. So we may need to raise our voices collectively a little louder because the people who need to hear this are not hearing it. They're not hearing it. Just by a yes or no, are you folks aware that HCDA had petitioned the county to change the zoning permits that directly correlates with the development of this wave pool. They amended the zoning, so it initially did not allow for little cottages to be erected here so that people could sleep over. And I'm just asking, in general, yes or no, were you folks aware that HCDA, who is the so-called subsidiary title holder for the land under the county and the state, had directly changed permitting in order to facilitate expansion for this development?
No.
Okay, so what does that mean for those of you out there who are listening is that there seems to be a modification to the plans, and I spoke against the zoning change. And even though 100% of representation from the community said no to the zoning change to allow for these cottages to occur, which now becomes an expansion on wastewater again. Not just the wave pool going to be wasting water, but now you got bungalows where people are going to create more wastewater, more lepo, more feces, more pee, more trash. And the permitting was modified to allow this development to modify their plans in order to allow for those cottages. And I just want to put that out there to you folks.
Yeah, the city council is the real criminals. You know, they're the ones that are, changing the permits, It is hard because, being the track record of corruption, it runs deep, and it's really rough up here. And what did you say about that?
Were you aware that they changed the permitting to allow for this place to now allow for cottages?
No. Why are they changing it?
Okay?
No, it's not okay. They need to not mahaoi and think they're going to build this over here. No, they're not doing it. No, it's not okay. They got to stop doing Hewa. You know what I mean? Stop doing the Hewa. What it comes down to is the heirs. The heirs are being called, people. Come and kako. Mahalo.
Yes, thank you. You can hold that. Actually, I said two questions ago, but this would be, since we know you folks are not in agreement with the wave pool, the last question is, what are your thoughts of the wave pool being built directly in the lena of the spirits that travel all the way from Kapukaki through here? Because Kalaeloa, if those of you who aren't aware, Kalaeloa is the place of wandering spirits. So our spirits come here and they actually get guided by the Aumakua to transition and lele off of this physical plane, and we are currently in the lena of that traversing for spirits. So my question to the community members here is, what are your thoughts and sentiments regarding erecting the wave pool in the path of this spiritual lena that is established by miles?
No can. Because
your thoughts and sentiments.
I mean, my thoughts, it's ridiculous because spiritually, now this is kind of stuff that you don't want to mess with. When I come to spiritual manakan stuff, it's not a game. You cannot, it's really, really serious stuff. What was the other one?
What are your sentiments? How do you feel about them building it on the spiritual path?
Oh, no can.
Share that.
No can, because they're going to come because that's their path. And they're going to come and you in their path, they're going to reach out and touch you or something, it's not pono. I mean, you don't want to go on that side, especially, trust me, as being a spiritual person, you do not want to mess with that dark side like that. No, aole.
Mahalo. What are your thoughts and sentiments about the lena? Last question. The development being built over the lena.
Like Kahaka, I agree. You guys all heard about the night marches when you was young.
Yep.
So if you think that you're going to have one positive business structure, even as evil and corrupt as you are, there are spiritual things that you just can't control. And we all know, everybody in this aina has experienced life force of some sort that they either couldn't figure out or don't understand, but the mana is so powerful, there's guidance. And then on the ley lines, that's the whole reason why they occupy in Hawaii, because we get the kumulipo. We was the first. So to hide the story behind colonial biblical interpretation and all this kind of stuff, that's where I cannot comprehend how somebody else's tyrannical fascism and beliefs had come over here and do all of this stuff for 131 years and think that oh my God, we're going to still trust these people because they nice on the surface. But the reality is, like, the night marcher is going to come out. The people are going to start to come out because they're only going to push everybody into a corner. And then when everybody finally realize they're looking at who really love them in their face, and they never sell out to the corporations, then they're going to be like, oh, now we're going to get together, because now you might be in physical war, you might be in revolution if they push you into that part, right? To have the spiritual guidance of our ancestors coming through the land means pay attention. And because we're not paying attention and we're so distracted by entertainment and all this other kind of stuff going on, and working one job and having one salary and all this legally stuff, that's why we're not even centering with our families or within ourselves, because that stress, that anxiety, that is like, it's living one daily hell and torture. And then you guys will come and say, oh, we're going to build one other thing over here. And then if the kupuna come and the EV raise up, you guys gonna make any kind of stories about them? No. You guys gonna have to bear the energy like the rest of us holding space from the kupuna. So the answer is negative. Don't ever do that. You don't want us to respect you like that. Don't disrespect us like that.
Oh wow! So, well, they give it to me, right? I get to carry this over. But let's think about this. I want to try to put this into a context for people to understand. We know when our peoples die, the spirit moves from east to west. We know that, right? We can look at it in Mokapu in the morning. There's a reason why Mokapu in Kaneohe is called the Bay of Mist. It's because the spirits are traveling from east to west. They still continue. If you are on a spiritual line traveling from east to west, where are you coming through? Right through here. If you are heading out towards Ka'ena, because you're going to the next place to go forward. If you're going to Ka'ena, you ever notice how much problems you have at Ka'ena Point? They cannot build a road, they cannot build a railway, they cannot build anything around there because you have so much spiritual movement that anything they try to build in Ka'ena has always had issues. Every single time, whether it was a road, whether it was buildings, whether it was anything. Why? Because you have this spiritual movement. If you are putting a building or a facility right in the middle of a spiritual line, what do you think is going to happen to that building?
The building's going to have something happen.
They're going to have issues in that building continuously over and over and over and over. It's going to happen. They haven't never been able to build a railway. They have never been able to build a roadway around Ka'ena. Why? Because it's right in that spiritual line. Think about that for a minute as you try to process and try to build your facility on a spiritual line. What is that going to mean for you?
Problems.
Have fun with that one, bro. Plenty of problems. Just think about that. Take off your Caucasian, take off your every Americanization of things, and put on your Hawaiian, and think about that, guys. Think about that. You know in your na'au that is not right. You know that because you can feel it. It's not going to be good. You're not going to have a good time in your building over there. Just think about that. Okay. Sorry, guys.
Oh,
no, so
last one. Okay.
In fact, I have to share because it's actually there is a place in Honokea Wave. I think it's Mountain View, and exact same thing. They want to put structures in the pathway. So every year there was suicide, murder. Because there was some natives from America bought some land, and so right down the street there's always why? Because they want to build them in front of the path. I forget which boat. They basically put them in a path. So now there's been death, suicide. I mean, it's just all hana. So it does exist on Honokea Wave. I mean, I haven't gone close, but yeah, I witnessed it. So it's real.
Mahalo. So guys, thank you for watching. We just want to mahalo our community members and leaders who serve our communities to make great changes that are here, to share their ike and their mana'o and sentiment in regards to this wave pool. So for those of you who are watching far and wide, please share this video. Please check out nakia'iowaiha.com. That's our website. We also have our Instagram page. Rewatch the video. See if that enlightens you a little bit. You know, there's so much sentiment shared today. We had interviews all day long. Our community is crying for change. Not this kind of change. This is not positive effect that's going to benefit our people. 150 jobs that only 150 people are going to benefit. I mean, one bag of groceries is $150 at this point. How much can you make here at a wave pool that's going to be subsistence living for yourself rather than just planting food? Why are we not just having a communal garden? Anywho, today is day 2 of Nakia I'o Waiha, holding it down, raising awareness, and bringing in community sentiment and feelings straight to you, the world, our community, our moku, our pai'aina. Please listen to the people, support, share, like, sign our petition. That's the most important thing. And come on down. We'll be here tomorrow. And mahalo for your guys' time. Share, share, share. Aloha.
Mahalo.